This is Urasawa Boys, a podcast where we read and discuss the works of manga artist and author Naoki Urasawa. Right now, we're reading Monster, and Monster deals with a lot of dark and troubling topics and themes, so a list of content warnings is going to be available in the show notes. Thanks for listening. Hi everybody, I'm Quinn.
I'm Maffino.
Welcome back to Urasawa Boys. It's a show where we read the works of manga artist and author Naoki Urasawa, and we have like opinions and sometimes thoughts on a good day.
Discussions occasionally.
Ooh, man.
We've been known to talk if the mood strikes us.
If there's one thing we're known for, it's for talking when the mood strikes. And I'd say the mood's striking a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Matt, how are you?
I'm good. It's a Friday. I have a mustache right now. That's different.
Yeah, and a little. I guess it's a trucker patch because like a soul patch is the lower part of the chin, but this is like right below the lip.
It's right under my lip. Yeah, I don't know what possessed me to shave it that way. Well, actually, I can tell you exactly what. So
yeah.
Well, last weekend, my best friend Andrew and I. When I say best friend, all the listeners need to know all of my friends are my best friends. Quinn is my best friend.
Right.
Andrew is my best friend. Ryan and Ethan are my best friends. Jared is my best friend. None of them listen to this show. But just so they'll listen eventually, and I need to make sure I inventory all of them, I think is the thing. But Andrew and I went to Bonnaroo last weekend, which is a music festival in Manchester, Tennessee, and had a terrible time. Was
it actually bad?
I mean, I won't do the long version, but so we drove up on Thursday night. The music festival started on Thursday night Thursday night was like EDM night, and it was like, well, that's not for us.
Right.
But we drove up after dinner on Thursday night and waited in a line for about 4 hours to get into the campsite. We got in around 1 p.m. and set up our tent in the dark. Andrew's arm is broken right now, so I had to set up the tent by myself in the dark.
1 a.m., I presume?
1 a.m., yeah, in the morning. Set up the tent. Got to sleep at about 2, maybe 3. At about 5 a.m., a van full of kids from Miami rolled into the campsite next to us and were very, very, very loud. So that woke us up.
So we can just kind of presume that this sort of thing continued.
This is what kicked the weekend off, right? We woke up at 6 a.m. and it was already one of the hottest days I've ever experienced. We had to walk about 2 miles to get ice for our cooler, so we weren't drinking like hot water. And then we looked at the schedule, and this was something we knew going into the weekend, but we looked at the schedule and realized that the music didn't start until 6 p.m. And at that point it was about 8 a.m. So we're like, we're gonna have to be out here all day. And we got very dehydrated and very sunburnt, and our attempts to take a nap were foiled by the kids from Miami doing an impromptu DJ set. One of them had a microphone.
What?
And was
Anyway, well, I guess if you want to take anything from this, listeners, don't go to Bonnaroo. Bonnaroo sucks.
Some hippies stole one of our mattresses in my wagon because we left our campsite up. We didn't sleep there the rest of the weekend. We just drove back to my apartment and did day trips. We gave up at 7 p.m. on Friday and went back home. We missed all of the music on Friday.
Man.
It was not a good time. I mean, look, everyone had a good time, I'm sure. The music was very good. The bands that we saw were fun, but I can't do a camping weekend at a music festival in my advanced years. So
yeah, you have to be really willing to put up with some serious bullshit.
It was a lot. But going back to the initial, what kicked off this story was when we got back on Friday evening. I still had like full beard at that point, and it was starting to look pretty grungy. And as part of my like stabilizing myself on Saturday morning, I shaved the beard down to a mustache, and it really helped.
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Sometimes haircuts will do that, you know?
I absolutely know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I used to, back when I had hair, listeners, I guess you probably don't know, but I'm quite
This is a
bald
reveal.
these days. Yeah, this is a Quinn hair reveal, which is that I don't have any. Um, but I used to have a lot of hair, and I definitely remember, like, getting haircuts at important junctures in life. I like doing that sort of thing.
I mean, we haven't talked about Scott Pilgrim a lot on this show.
No, but
we are both fans of Scott Pilgrim.
Yes.
One of my favorite bits in that story is that he knows exactly how long it's been since he had his last salon haircut because it was right before a bad breakup. Because listeners, I have always had haircut anxiety. It is a big part of my personality. Is if I get my haircut, will I be the same person? That's maybe going a bit too hard, but that is a big part of how I roll.
Theseus.
I've wanted to get a mullet for a couple years, and I finally got it this year. That has been like since 2019. I have wanted to get a mullet.
What I want is a beard. I have a goatee. My facial hair naturally grows in a goatee. It's a good one, but what I really want is I want the full beard. So I just hope that as I get older, it'll be more doable. Yeah. Because it comes in patchy on the sides, and I just think I'd be good with the full beard. But I'm fine with the goatee as is. I look a lot older. I look a lot older or more, I don't
distinguished.
know. No, not
rugged.
Distinguished.
Hipstery.
Yeah, rugged, perhaps. Hipstery, definitely. My mustache actually can curl up at the sides.
Can you really? How does that work?
Literally, I just, I'm doing it right now.
Look at that.
If I just, guy the hair a bit.
Yeah. No, you got it.
Yeah.
That's sick. Yeah.
If I wanted mustache wax, if I had been born earlier, right, I could have really been a hipster mustache guy when that was a peak kind of
in
guy
2012.
to be. And, exactly. Yeah. Back when hipster was a word that meant something.
Right, before it was just the catch-all.
I mean, I don't even hear it anymore because, the whole point of hipster is that you are making fun of somebody for being in a subculture. But these days, everyone's in a subculture.
Yeah. I made a joke a couple weeks ago about us being Brooklyn podcasters. And then I thought about it and I was
the closest thing.
You were recording a lot of those episodes from Brooklyn. So, that wasn't completely wrong.
Well, it also feels like a lot of the stuff that, used to be attributed to hipsters has split off into its own thing. Vegan is its own thing. Coffee person is their own thing. Vinyl person is their own thing. There's, all of this stuff is now, it's all modular.
To be fair, I think vegan has always been its own thing, but you're right. All of those other things are, coffee and vinyl and all that stuff.
Yeah, because now you could be a coffee vinyl person, but also a tech person, which that doesn't jive with a 2012 hipster. I feel like we're losing the plot a little bit here.
I don't know. I mean, let's just very quickly before we get into Monster, let's say the type of hipster that we are, because I am a coffee hipster.
Oh, sure. You're definitely
I have the
hipster.
little hand mill where I do like this. Where you grind your beans in the a Mario Party game, right?
What kind of a hipster am I? That's a really interesting question. I think I would have to be a health food hipster.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, you're doing your apple cider vinegar shots. You're drinking vinegar.
I mean, yeah. I like vinegar. I was raised by hippies.
Okay.
So we always shopped at the health food store.
When were your parents born? How old are your parents? Because mine are
70
yuppies.
and
I think is the
71.
thing. Okay, mine are 65.
They had me pretty young.
Okay.
I'm actually older now than my parents were when they had me, which makes me feel.
Isn't that a wild thing to think about?
Mostly it just makes me worried because I want my kids to have a lot of time with my dad. So I'm kind of looking at the clock there, being damn, I kind of need that wife to show up, huh? So anyway, listeners, nope, I'm not encouraging that.
No, do not do that. We said a couple episodes ago, do not tell us if you have a crush on me. Do not offer to become Quinn's wife.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
That's not healthy. That's parasocial. That's what that is. I've learned.
We just this week looked it up in the dictionary.
I looked it up.
What do we think about this reading of Monster, Matt?
I have been dying to keep reading since I read this. This one is such a suspenseful. And also, I say this every time. Yeah. I do not understand how there are 3 volumes of this comic left because of the way that this last chapter goes. That is a last volume chapter that we're dropping here at the end of this one. I don't know why we're doing it now.
I guess
what are we doing?
We'll see if it's a good or a bad move as we get there because
I'm going to say bad move because let me tell you what, that chapter made me cry the first time I read it, made me cry again about 20 minutes ago.
Yeah,
so
that chapter
that is something you deploy at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested because, like, really, when it comes to something that's kind of long running or something that is specifically like, this is a single story, right? And Monster falls into that category of this is all one story.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for something like this, how it ends, how all those threads come together and how they're all tied up, that's what tells you, like, how successful or unsuccessful something is, right? And let me be clear, that's not good or bad. It's successful and unsuccessful, right? We're getting into the Quinn school of
this is interesting, the criticism
analysis.
thing, where it's like, well, do we judge something on how well it accomplished what it was trying to do,
exactly.
or on how I liked it, right?
I mean, I think good or bad, like, most often, right, on average, something that is successful in its stated goals is more likely to be good, right? Mm-hmm. This isn't true all the time.
I would agree.
because there are lots of things that accomplish on their stated goals and are also bad.
And are bad, yeah.
Yeah, such as the transphobia in Monster. That's pretty effective. You know, it does what it's supposed to do in the story, and yet it's also bad, right? So it's a great example of how a piece of art is built up of choices. And how, like any choice that we make in life, we have a goal that this choice is trying to achieve, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. And this personally, I think, is a good way to look at art, because even though trying to analyze what something is trying to do, that's still a subjective thing, it is still better than relying solely on how much you like or dislike something.
Yeah, and this is,
I think.
So my best friend Jared, who I mentioned earlier in the roster of best friends, he's a right. high school English teacher. And one of the arguments that we get in a lot, I think, is about in the ways that we differ in media criticism, right? Where one of the things that has happened most often is so we argue about TV a lot, right? Because
sure.
I don't like it when TV shows when they do like the 12-hour movie thing, right? Where it's like, oh, this is really a 12-hour movie. Because you're doing a TV show, my opinion is you should treat episodes as episodes, right?
Yeah.
Like, tell a story in each unit that you're doing if you're doing serialized storytelling, right? And I don't think, like, I'm not against, when we're doing multi-parters or long-running things or development across a series, but I do think that, like, Stranger Things, I think, was the last big one that we got into an argument about. Like, the most recent season of Stranger Things, I thought sucked as a TV show, the way that it broke the episodes up. And I thought it just completely failed. And the thing that he says a lot is, well, you have to take the whole thing in context. And I disagree with that, because I think... I don't really think the context is important.
Well, the context is important, but
it isn't.
Well,
right?
I mean, it just feels like... sorry, Jared, but it feels like he's not following his premise through, because part of the context of a TV show is that it's a TV show that is being released in episodes.
Yes.
So it's the more contextual way to analyze it is by realizing.
I'm very glad you're on my side on this, and that also you've given me this ammo that I will use in our next argument about this. So
it's like we said in the very first episode, talking about episodic release schedules and what that does for a piece of media, and what it changes, and how you have to, keep how it creates a sequence of promises that you have to deliver on in order to keep people coming back, to keep them satisfied. To build suspense, like, there's all these mechanical differences that being released episodically does. And we can also, I mean, Netflix has come under flack. The biggest example that I can think of recently is JoJo, right? JoJo's Part 6.
Right,
released
on
Netflix
flat
in batches.
It fell because of the way they did it.
Exactly. And that really fucking sucks. And that's because JoJo is designed around that episodic release structure. Binging it, like, obviously you can binge it. If it's all already out, you can binge it, but a lot of that initial hype is built up by the space between things, because that is how JoJo was written, and that is what the episodic formula does for a piece of media. It really feels like you get the sense that what Netflix is thinking, and maybe what your friend is thinking, is that, like, pieces of art are by nature one thing.
Atomic. Yeah,
atomic. Wow, Matt, Jesus fucking Christ. I feel like I mean, that's
not
a $5. That's not a $5
really
word. That's like, I feel like Scrooge McFucking Duck. Oh my,
listeners,
geez.
I did a double-handed rock, with my, the goat horns. I did double-handed when I pulled that one off. That felt good.
The right word in the right place, and let me tell you, that was gorgeous, Matt.
Well, I have thought about this a lot, I think is the thing, about media and, like, what is the right way to talk about it? What is the right way to analyze it? Because, and, like, going back, so we're really doing a long preamble to this one, but, like, we're late recording this.
We're at least talking about monsters.
Yeah, we're talking about stuff. So we're late recording this because my brother called me, and we had a long conversation, and one of the things we talked about is, one of the things I've always said about my brother is he does not have strong opinions about media. And, like, that is not a good or a bad thing. He just, when I ask him about a movie, he just says, yeah, it was fine. I liked it, whatever. And my friend Andrew pointed out that a lot of times I will do the same thing where I just say, yeah, it's fine. Where was I going with this? Now I lost the thread that I was going to from Atomic. But I think a lot of times you can have I think there's, like, the big picture opinion that I have about things, right? Where it's, like, good or bad. That is because I come from the school of, like, I learned how to read and write by reading Nintendo Power Magazine, which was it was the corporate organ of the Nintendo of America Corporation that reviewed their games and wrote previews and guides and things like that. But I learned my critical voice comes from growing up reading Nintendo Power. And video game criticism in the 90s and 2000s was a lot of, should you buy this thing? Thumbs up, thumbs down, right? So, like, a lot of my critical apparatus comes to, on a whole, do I thumbs up or thumbs down to this thing? But, as we talk about it, obviously, and this was the thing we talked about last time, is I think we can like things and talk about the things that we think that those things do poorly.
Yeah, which is what we're seeing a lot. Like, I mean, we're seeing kind of a push for that and kind of new media criticism and new games journalism.
Tim Rogers, another person we're a fan
of. Yep, Tim Rogers. Yahtzee is another great example of what modern games journalism is about. If we're talking about YouTube channels that we think do good games journalism, I just watched a great review of this exact thing of talking about what we like and dislike about something. A review of Final Fantasy 16 by a channel called Skill Up.
Skill Up's a good one.
Skill Up's really good. That guy, very even-handled. So, it's But getting back to
Monster.
to Atomic,
Atomic.
There's
better,
so the Netflix school of binge art is basically saying a single piece of art is only a single piece of art, and the only reason to
and that's just not true.
Well, they think the only reason to split it up is like something like technological constraints or time constraints, or just like, well, it's better for sales. And it's like, no, sorry, we aren't, like, serialization didn't come about just because it's better for sales. Serialization has
maybe it did. I don't know.
Maybe it started that way, but the serialized structure has obvious benefits and obvious drawbacks that we can't just cut out in favor of the binge. And trying to do so and trying to analyze pieces of art that have episodes as being a single thing is doing the whole deal a disservice. And when we see stuff that is technically episodic but isn't constructed with that structure in mind, we start to see flaws because they're not making this piece of media for the medium that it's in. And that's what happens when you get something like Stranger Things, like you're complaining about. A 12-hour movie. It's not a 12-hour movie. It's 12 one-hour movies. And you can tell the difference.
Yeah, let me be clear. I liked the most recent season of Stranger Things a lot, but I do have problems with the way that it is set up. Yeah. And I think it would be better if you did the consideration, like Quinn said, right? If you treated it like a season of TV, which I think the first season did extremely well, right? Like, every episode in that first season is a banger. The show took off for a reason, and I think a lot of it is because it leaned into... I mean, at the end of every episode of Stranger Things, you're like, well, I gotta watch one more. And it's because it is episodes and not, a 12-hour movie.
You do not get that kind of cliffhanger, I need one more, if the people creating it don't know they're making an episodic show.
When you're watching a movie and you hit pause and you see that there's an hour and a half left, the thing that you feel is dread. When you're watching a show and it says next episode starts in 3 seconds, the thing that you feel is excitement.
Yeah, and they're very different. Just this last week, I finally watched season 1 of Fargo. You want to talk about a show. You want to talk about a show. It's so good. I cannot believe it took me so long to watch it. It's so Quinn core.
Yeah.
And I expect if you're listening to this show and you like this show, there's no reason why you wouldn't like Fargo. I think is kind of my feeling about it. You should watch Fargo. I started season 2. We'll see how that goes. But
who is the main actor in season 2? Is that the Carrie Coon season, or is it the next
guy?
one?
It's the dude. I don't know. Carrie,
is it Jesse Plemons? Is that the season 2 one?
Yeah, I think so.
Hang on, let me look it up. I think it is. Fake
I
Matt
don't know.
Damon from Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad is another example.
Damon from Breaking.
I watched Breaking Bad last summer, and you did too. I know with Maya, right?
I watched some of it. It didn't stick, which is interesting. God, we could talk a while about Fargo. We should really. We gotta reel this thing in.
We'll reel it in.
Yeah, I think we've. But listeners, I think especially if you're also readers, like you will. I think you have an idea of how what we're saying is connecting back to this reading of Monster and to Monster as a whole, right? Because I guess this whole thing started with me saying like we are getting to the point where we will be able to evaluate
to talk about the
Monster.
Object as a whole, yes, as opposed to episodically, yes.
Yeah, and I definitely think that the last couple of readings, I want to see them in context.
I do too, and I'm excited to do you think, hang on, we haven't really talked about this. Let's talk about this live on the air.
Yeah.
Do we do an episode after we finish the reading that's just a wrap up?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
I think that's good.
Wow, Cool Robot does that,
Oh, do they? Okay, that's smart.
Yeah, they also have a ranking. They like rank the suits that show up. That's part of their pull. So I don't know.
It's Gundam.
Yeah. I don't know.
We can't really rank. I don't know. Maybe we could pick our favorite character.
I don't want to.
But like Tenma is my favorite character. I
really?
love
I
all
don't
the other
think he's
characters,
mine.
but I
I
love
don't think
Tenma.
he's
Really? Is
no.
Lunge?
Gosh, do I have it might be Grimmer, honestly.
Really? I like Grimmer a lot, but
I know that he's like test tube designed to be your favorite character.
Yeah, he is.
But it worked. It worked on me. You know what I mean? Or it could also
There's
be
a lot of stuff in this reading that is just... Oh, Reichwein's fantastic. He has some good moments in this reading.
I love that he's back. Can't wait to talk about him.
We should probably start talking about Monster.
Well,
20 minutes into the recording.
Jesus Christ. Do we have any... Thanks for listening, everybody. Do we have any overall thoughts on this reading and the flow of it?
I think this is a perfect thriller construction in this reading. There's one chapter in particular that is like peak page turner. And I think that's like a lot of what this reading is operating on is we're unraveling the mystery, because like last reading we said we're setting up a lot of the dominoes.
Yeah.
We haven't quite knocked them over yet, but like we're getting closer and closer to like figuring out big things, right? There's big revelations that are coming.
Yeah, definitely. Those big revelations that are coming, and kind of the way that the characters and the things that what this reading does in particular is it is bringing stuff back, right? Mm-hmm. It's retrieving things and showing you the function that they now have in this
much like Lunge does with his mnemonic computer.
Indeed, recalling, so it's like, so the last couple of readings, 10, so episode 10 and 11, right, volumes 10 and 11,
the stuff in Prague,
the stuff in Prague, we were talking about how this is a new mode, this is a new thing, we're starting season 2, and we had to get established with that before it made any sense to start bringing stuff back. It would feel a bit cheap if we okay, here's some new stuff. But here's the stuff you love. So I think that Urasawa really waited just long enough to start bringing back these characters and bringing back these threads.
It is really interesting how Munich and Prague but like each time we've gone to these new cities, we're introducing a new set of whatever, how different kind of those two starts have felt, right?
Oh, big time. I mean the difference between Carl's story and Jan's story, or Grimmer and
I think
Lada,
Grimmer is really the focus character in,
I would say,
the Prague stuff more than Jan. I mean, I love Jan. Jan is Matt Fennell. We've talked about it a lot of times. But...
Oh God, Matt, one more tiny digression. You know that Gus Grimley is just Matt, right?
Who?
Fargo from Fargo season 1.
Yeah.
He even looks like you a little bit. I love it. I love it when there's a Matt character that looks like Matt. It's my favorite.
That's Tom Hanks' son, right?
Fuck, is it?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
Jesus.
I'm pretty sure that's Colin Hanks. Let me look it up real quick.
Oh, it might. Oh man, that's wild.
I mean, he is a very Matt-coded character. Yeah, that's Colin Hanks.
That's crazy. Okay. All right.
I'd forgotten his name, but yeah, you're right.
I love him.
That's a Matt.
Yeah, and a Matt character with a good ending, which is rare.
Yeah.
Very rare.
Listeners, if you're listening, Matt will have a tragic ending 5 to 6 to 7 years from now. We don't know. Hopefully longer than that.
Hopefully longer than that. We got to finish this podcast, man. Let's do it. Let's summarize chapter 96.
Chapter 96, A Long Vacation. Shocking everyone at the PKA office, Detective Lunge has decided to take his first ever vacation to Prague. He takes in the sights and pays a visit to Chief Nepola, who he'd met at an Interpol conference a few years ago. Nepola tells him about the detective suitcase, and Lunge notes the similarities to Tenma's case. Before leaving, he asks if Nepola can help him translate a copy of The Nameless Monster that he picked up at a bookstore. Lunge then visits Suk's friends, who vouch for his innocence and tell Lunge about the girl that Suk had been seeing, Anna Lieber. Again, Lunge notes the connections to Tenma's case. The next day, Lunge visits the publishing house that put out The Nameless Monster and asks for information on its author, Emil Scherb. The man working there says all that stuff happened under a different director under the old regime, but remembers some of Scherb's other pen names. The two are then able to find a box labeled Claus Pop, one of those pen names, which contains a sketchbook with pictures of a pregnant woman, infant twins, and young children, a boy and a girl with the same face. Nepola calls Lunge to let him know the translation is finished and reads him the last line. Finally, the monster had a name, but there was no one to call him by it. It was a shame, because Johan was such a wonderful name. Bum bum bum.
Looks like it's going to be a long vacation.
I love that line. I love the bit about him trying to figure out, like, how do I behave on vacation?
It's so funny.
Like, it's very good.
There's a lot of characters in this manga that, like, have a difficult time in the world.
Yeah.
You know,
that's
like,
a good, I hadn't thought about it, but that's a good way of putting it.
I hadn't considered how many it was until just now, but it really, Monster's full of a lot of people who have a difficult time being part of the overall, like, culture for some reason or another. Tenma feels alienated, Johan's alienated, Grimmer's alienated, Link is alienated. There's Ava Heinemann. She's a fucking, alcoholic. She's alienated. Yeah. Like, there's all of these people who are distanced in one way or another from normalcy, and I just think that's very, very interesting, right? Because, I mean, like, in any given story, especially in thrillers, that's not uncommon, because being separated, being distanced is kind of necessary for the heightened lives that they must live in order to be interesting thriller characters.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that goes back to, like, film noir, like, detectives, right? Like, people who are sad boys, who are solving crimes.
They're on the outside looking in, But I think the quality of it is kind of unusual in Monster, because they're not just outcasts, they are uncertain. Like we said, they don't know how to act, they don't know what's proper.
Yes.
And it plays into the stuff that Monster's talking about with nature versus nurture. What is it? What does it mean to be in the world? What does it mean to be a part of the world?
I mean, connections and relationships and all that stuff. That's, like, huge here.
All that stuff. It's all that good stuff. I mean, on the first page of this chapter, they say, no wonder his wife and daughter left him. So.
Yeah. No, I like I said, I like Vacation Mode Lunge a lot. I think, and I said this the last time we had a Lunge chapter, I have turned on him since the end of the first season, quote unquote, because of the big reveal that I think he has at the end, right, where he realizes there's more going on, I think. And it's interesting to see him start working in on that, because he is a person who, like, just directly is going to get to the bottom of this, as opposed to taking 9 volumes to figure out what's going on. And I appreciate that about him. So I think this is where kind of the atomic nature that we talked about earlier in this episode comes in, right? Like, you had said from the start, Lunge is one of your favorite characters.
Yes.
I think for me as a serial reader, he was an antagonist for a long time. And like now that I am starting to see his full picture, I think I see where you're coming from and saying that this is a character that you really like.
Well, there's a phrase that I used to use back in my theater days, which is that plays are four-dimensional, which is to say that if something is true at one point in the play, it is true at all points in the play. I think that counts for this, right? So Lunge as antagonist, that's true across the whole thing. Lunge as protagonist or as co-investigator, that's also true across the whole thing, right? So when we're looking at the atomic view, it's
quantum now.
Exactly.
Because everything's true at once. Look at this.
Yes.
Look at what we're doing to fiction.
And you can think of it as being pointillist in a sense, right? Each instance of a character, each panel a character is in is a single dot. And once we see the whole picture of all of these dots, then it zooms out and it makes that full character, right? But each dot is its own experience. Yes. And we take each one as it comes.
Both are true at once. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole deal is true at once. And so we can, as we zoom in on different areas, we're like, okay, this grouping is kind of more this color, this grouping is kind of more this color. And then, there's all of these different scales at which fiction and art works at. And it's fun to jump between them and be like, how does it look from this angle? What do we think about it from this angle? And Lunge is particularly a really good character to kind of play with that when it comes to Monster, because we see him from different angles doing different things and having different beliefs. Yeah. He's just a really fun character to think and to talk about. And I love seeing him on vacation too.
It's great. I love that he goes to the cafe and orders a coffee and then says, "Wait, I'm on vacation. Bring me a beer."
Exactly. He's like, people drink beer on vacation. And the guy brings him a prastroj, which is in fact something that if you drink beer... Yeah, Bar Corner, Quinn's Bar Corner, a prastroj is not as funky or foreign as it may sound. You're like, ooh, what's that? Fancy Czech beer. You know this. This is a Pilsner Urquell.
Look at you.
Yeah,
educating us.
I did have to Google it. I didn't know what a prastroj was. But a Pilsner Urquell, for those of you who don't know, is actually the Pilsner. It comes from the Czech town, Plzeň, and it is the first Pilsner.
Wow.
Yes, so prastroj means the original source or primordial source, and it's called that because this was the first Pilsner. It began in the mid-1800s, and all other Pilsners or light ales of that sort that you have ever drunk, it all is an imitation or a spin-off or has taken inspiration from Pilsner Urquell. It's a light beer that's made with what are called Saaz hops, which is also called Czech hops because they are like native to around there, and they have a distinct flavor. It's got a little bit of a bitter bite, but it creates a very easy drinking, light kind of a beer that's super popular across the world. It's some of my favorites. I love a Pilsner. I love a Czech style Pilsner. And of course, if you order a beer in Prague, you're gonna get a Pilsner Urquell. That's just how it is. There's other brands that are popular around there, of course, but if you're like not from the Czech Republic and you're making a manga there,
you're doing the touristy thing. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
You're getting that, and I love a Pilsner Urquell, man. It's really tasty. So yeah, there you go. That's the Bar Corner. Yeah,
I wasn't sure where we were going to fit it in this time, and I'm glad that we got it.
You gave me
this has been very informative.
Just the right thing. Yeah, and you were right about Chief Nepala being a good cop.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. And I think this really nails it in. That it's like the whole, and I appreciate the way that this does feel like the beginning of another volume of the Tankobon, right? Where it's like, okay, let's review all of the kind of more complicated than we've had to this point, like intrigue that's going on. Like it lays it out very flatly for you what's going on.
And I didn't mind it this time because I'm like, at this point, there's so much happening. I'm honestly grateful for it. I'm like, okay, we got this. Okay, great. Like, earlier in the manga, it was kind of annoying, but at this point, yeah, man, give it, please, please.
Yeah, and I really like the relationship that him and Lunge have, like where they're
Yeah.
just, cop buddies. They met at this Interpol conference. They talk about, Nepala talks about how impressed he was of a talk that Lunge gave. I don't know if we want to talk about this now, but I do think it's interesting. This is like I don't know. We've talked about Lunge's method a couple times, but this is maybe the cleanest that anyone's ever laid it out, as they say.
Yeah,
He
I
does
noted this
his
too.
objective data collection with his computer thing, and then he does a completely subjective, imagining himself in the mind of the serial killer. And we've seen both of those pieces separately, right? But I don't think we've never heard people talk about them as being as related as they are.
Yeah, as being part of one method.
Right, we had Rudy criticize his, objective in quotes data collection, saying, as soon as you're entering it, it's tainted, it becomes subjective. And that's the only time we've kind of talked about like theoretical how his approach works. But I thought I liked hearing them laid out side to side like this. And it makes it makes him seem less robotic, I think, if you're like, oh, he's doing both pieces of it. He's just doing them separately.
And you can also see that he's, that what Rudy said did sink in. It is affecting Lunge. Like, he takes a couple pauses in this chapter to consider the method. Like, he starts typing in information about the beer and then is like, whatever.
A couple times he tries to stop himself and then always just apologizes and says, sorry, I'm on vacation. Right? Like, I shouldn't be doing this.
It is interesting. And it's cool to see Lunge change as a character, even if only like little bits, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, it really humanizes him. Maybe it's just because we're seeing him on vacation.
I honestly look, vacation mode person is the truest version of themselves. Is maybe what this is saying.
I don't know if I agree.
I don't know. Yeah,
but it is fun to see Lunge in a different mode, and I think you can tell that he's not really super comfortable in it, but that he's trying something new.
Yes.
And then, of course, by the end of the chapter, cancel that beer, bring me a coffee.
There we go.
It's gonna be a long vacation.
Fantastic ending to a chapter. Like, we're
really
kicking
good.
into detective mode. Yeah. Yeah,
and he's picking up all this information that, like, the idea is to put him on the same thread as our other heroes. So
he meets with Jan's friends, which I like that scene a lot, where they're just like some random dude who is from Germany on vacation, who's like a cop there, is like, hey, yeah, can I talk to you about your friend who was on the run for murdering cops? And they're like, yes, this is the only thing we want to talk about. We love our friend. He would never do this.
We love him. Yeah, we love those boys.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's just great to spend some time with Lunge again, and do some investigation, just kind of uncovering things in that classic Lunge way. He goes to the place, and then what do you know? He finds the sketchbooks. Things come easily for Lunge in this chapter, I would say.
Do you have thoughts about the sketchbooks? Because I have one important note about them.
I don't think I have anything specific. I mean, other than the fact that, like, visually it's really cool to see
it's sick as
Urasawa
hell. I
like
love
using
it.
these, like, are these charcoal pencils? I'm pretty sure these drawings are done in. And it's just cool to, it's always cool when God damn it. When like the two names we say the most in this podcast.
Yeah.
It's always cool when Urasawa was like, okay, let me do a different visual style so that, like, to
we said watercolors last time, and this time it's
I just love seeing him do other stuff. What did you have?
So my note is that this is a King thing. Is now we have a character who is an artist / illustrator / visual storyteller, right? Which is what Urasawa's doing. As we all know, one of Stephen King's favorite things to do is have characters that are novelists, right?
True. God, that's true. Buddy, in case you didn't know, several
right?
of the main characters of Billy Bat are artists. That's actually quite the pull.
Yeah. I caught this time through. I didn't catch it the first time, but I caught it this time through. I was like, oh shit. We have now an important character who is a visual artist.
There are some visual artists in 20th Century Boys, although I don't know if they get Place of Pride, but they are there. They're definitely present. And I need to think about if they show up elsewhere. I don't know if there's any in Pluto.
Okay.
I don't know if there's any in Pluto, but art is important in Pluto, actually. Visual art is so important in Pluto.
Okay, this is exciting then.
Actually, we might have unlocked an Urasawa thing, here, which is the importance of visual art. And art in general, and storytelling in general.
I have a bigger note about this a little bit later about fiction and stories.
Yeah. That's very exciting. Okay, all right. Let's move on to the next chapter then, unless you have anything else.
No, I'm ready. Let's go to 97.
It feels like a lot of the chapters here are like kind of one note. Like we can they're kind of just like
one
bam,
big thing
bam.
to talk about in each one. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Chapter 97. Boy Detectives. We follow some of the orphans that Petrov was raising at their orphanage, and in particular Milos, who is being scolded by the orphanage director for being out past curfew. And he tells his friends that he saw the blonde lady who killed Mr. Petrov. And then his friends are like, well, if you saw her, then we need to track her down so that we can clear Mr. Grimmer. So they set up a trap. His friends get distracted by a false positive, and then, whoops, Johan gets him. Johan snags him. Meanwhile, Grimmer and Tenma return to Petrov's apartment and find some letters and messages from the boys, and Grimmer asks Tenma, what sort of facial expression is appropriate in this situation? What's the correct response here? And Tenma says, how about paying those kids a visit? So they go to one of the orphanages, and they hang out there, and we go to another orphanage, and we see some of the pictures that some of the kids have drawn of Grimmer with nice big smiles. And Grimmer says, that's something I've learned. I've learned how to make my face smile. Grimmer and Tenma go to a playground, and we learn a bit more about what happened when Grimmer's child died, and he's saying that he did not know how to react when that happened. In the meantime, directly following, some of the kids run up, and they tell Grimmer and Tenma Milos is missing. Now, in the meantime, Lunge visits Jan's mother. And Jan's mother tells him that while someone with very fine features did in fact visit her, that person was a man.
I like this. Immediately, like, the start of this chapter is another King thing. This is like, kids' adventure story.
Yes.
Stand By Me, It, all that stuff. Like, kids on a mission to do something very adult, right?
Totally. And that, that doesn't happen as much in Japanese fiction. It does happen, don't get me wrong, it totally happens, but this really has it has a strong Western media feel, as so many things in Urasawa's work tends to, and I just think it's useful for us to point out moments where, like, this is a Western move.
Influence, yeah.
Yeah, because I think I think Urasawa is such a cross-cultural author and creator that we're not going to get a really good image of him unless we remember exactly how cross-cultural he is, and what stuff he's taping. Because as a Western reader, when we see a Western thing, we don't question it, but we should recognize the source. We should recognize that these are things being reflected back at us from another point of view somewhere else on the planet. So, just keep your eyes open for that and recognize that this is a cultural exchange happening here, and these are Western tropes being digested through a Japanese point of view and then re-employed. It's not so direct as somebody from, Tennessee being like, oh, I'm gonna take some king things, because there's more cultural translation that happens.
Yeah. No. So I really liked the opening of this chapter. I love when they draw their little map of where they're all gonna stand and how they say they're gonna whistle, and then the plan fails because Milosh can't whistle. Like,
Which is
it's
a
very good.
scary moment. It's a
Oh
really
yeah.
scary moment when that happens.
And what this part does is it does really make me excited to read 20th Century Boys when we get to that, because my understanding is that is a lot of kid detective story or kid adventure story.
Yeah,
Um,
we spend a lot of time with children in 20th Century Boys in a really fun way. And I think you're kind of right that this is kind of if not a prefiguring, at least it's a taste. You know, it's a little morsel, a little sample of what we're going to get. Yeah, totally. Okay, and we're back. I just
we had a little snack
voraciously
break.
yeah, a little snack break. My blood sugar went down to 0 somehow.
Friday afternoon's a new recording configuration. We're figuring out
Yeah.
how this one works.
Yeah, for sure. And I ate peanut butter and ice cream, and I ate some chips. I put hot sauce on a couple of the chips.
Ooh.
I was in a bad way, folks. But we're back, and we're gonna talk about Monster a little bit more. So yeah, we were talking about Milos. We were talking about how this is like a king thing. You know, kids going on
boys'
kids going on
adventures.
detectives. You know what I mean? And even the name of the chapter, Boy Detectives. You know, I mean,
Right.
that calls to mind a lot of Western media.
Did you ever read Hardy Boys growing up? Or like
I read
Nancy
a few
Drew?
of them. Read a little
Okay.
Nancy, read a little Nancy, read a little Hardy. You know, and I especially remember a book. I remember the Artemis Fowl series. I loved the Artemis Fowl books. Matt had no light of comprehension.
No, I was
from
not an
that.
Artemis Fowl person. One of my friends was.
Well, it was a pretty fun series, and the author had another book called Half Moon Investigations, which was just this little Irish kid in elementary school solving a very fun little mystery.
Oh, that's fun.
You know, so like the boy. In fact, when I was 10 years old, I wrote a book. This shitty little book about a boy detective.
Perfect.
You know, I love detectives, and so this is a beloved trope, and this is a fun example of it. These kids out here solving mysteries.
I read a lot of. Well, my dad had just a ton of Hardy Boys books that he got from his mom one year when I was growing up, and he was like, "You should read these," and they just sat in my closet, and I read a handful of them. So they were like era appropriate. They're like 60s Hardy Boys books.
Yeah.
And I would like to have a couple of those on my shelf now, but I was never a huge Hardy Boys person. I did like, now I can't remember the name of it. Oh, I liked Encyclopedia Brown, because the whole gimmick of that was you could try to figure out the solution. Like Sherlock Holmes stories. Well,
Yeah.
Sherlock Holmes kind of cheats a little bit because there's no way you can figure those out.
Cheats. So you're Agatha Christie.
Yes, Agatha Christie, but for children. So I liked Encyclopedia Brown. But boy detectives is like a timeless genre that we all love.
Absolutely. But yeah, I think...
So that's one part of the chapter. The other part is Grimmer and Tenma having their conversation about emotions. Because when Grimmer was introduced, you had your big thing where you're like, hey, when he is smiling and when he is not is an important thing to consider. And in this chapter, I would say this is really the first time when we're really seeing, like, before this, Grimmer's default is always he is smiling. And I mean, like, when we see those pictures that the kids have drawn of him, the distinctive thing is he has this big smile, right? But in this chapter, a lot of the times when we're seeing Grimmer, he's not smiling. Like, because he's comfortable around Tenma now. So he's not having to do his pretend smile thing. And he keeps asking, like you said, what is the right reaction to this? Like, I do not know.
Yeah, and we can really, you know, I think what we can also understand from this is that, like you were saying, the guy calling Grimmer a monster last reading really tracks, because here, this is something that he kind of shares somewhat with Johan, right?
Yeah, like, the blank face a little bit.
Yeah, the blank face, but also the... Johan is understood to be pretty much as emotionless as Grimmer, right? Like, Johan is empty inside, he has no real strong emotions, yada yada, but the difference is that Johan does know exactly what he's supposed to do in a situation, and he uses that to his benefit, you know. And then another important difference, and we're gonna see this next chapter a bit more, but I'll just bring it up now, is that the difference between Johan and Grimmer is that Grimmer, despite being messed up, despite not having emotions, still participates in the world and cares about the things and people in it. Right? He has beliefs. There are things that matter to him. Life is not meaningless, even though he did not know how to love his child and didn't know how to cry when his child died, right? Those are horrible things. And yet Grimmer still values the lives of children and still values protecting life.
Yeah, and I had a note that, like, I almost think that Grimmer has bought into this thing that they've told him where it's like, we've robbed you of your emotions and you're just going to be this perfect, vessel for being a spy or whatever. Because, like, I don't know, maybe he tells Tenma, like, he had to learn how to have emotional responses. Maybe that's what's happening. But to me, like, all of the big emotional beats in this reading, Grimmer is having an emotional response to them. It's just not always quite the right one. I mean, like, he does this thing a lot where, like, something horrible happens and he will go flat, right? Where it's like, it's just he can't quite figure out which one he's supposed to do, but he knows he's supposed to do something. And then there's moments where he's shocked, and then there's moments where he knows what he's supposed to do is smile, like you said. So it's almost like he has bought into the hype a little bit, right? That they've told him, like, you don't have emotions anymore. But, like, you can't really erase that out of a person, is almost what I get out of this.
I think you're absolutely right. I think that part of what we're meant to get from Grimmer, especially, again, next chapter, is that people are people, and you can't, like, no matter what you do, you can't take the emotions out of a person.
It almost just feels like more he's going through, like, everything's numbed, right? Like, he's living through trauma, or he's clinically depressed or something like that, right?
I mean, it as a CPTSD response there, something along those lines.
So I like this introduction, and, like, obviously, like, him asking Tenma, is this the right response, is the, like, most loaded Chekhov's gun that we've had, like, in a while. It is such a, like, we're setting up this phrase so that we can deploy it in the way that will break your heart the hardest, like, when he hits it.
And it's just like using it casually is pretty heartbreaking. I mean, and you can tell it, like you said, Grimmer's comfortable. It's the first time probably in his life.
Yes.
Since Kinderheim, where he's been around somebody who knows what happened to him, and he doesn't have to keep guessing, and he doesn't have to put on the mask, and he can just kind of be himself, even if he considers himself broken or less than, or doesn't like who he is. He can still be himself, and I think you can tell you could just get a sense of relief.
Yeah, and there's I made a note of this. There's a series of panels, like, I think it's when he is explaining this. There's a series of panels of Tenma reaction shots where, like, at first he is, like, extremely concerned by this, right? Where, like, he makes a face that is like, oh my God, right? And then, like, he sits there and listens, and then his response is he warmly smiles and says, well, maybe what we should do is we should go visit those children, right? Like, he knows exactly, he's doing Dr. Tenma perfect bedside manner again, right? Like, he knows how to deal with this, even though it is something that is, like, concerning.
Yeah, and he knows, he sees that Grimmer needs help.
Yes.
Grimmer is asking for help. What's the correct response? And it's really, I just think it's a really healthy kind of thing, because we all have times when we don't really know what the right thing to do is, and in those times, reaching out to a friend is the right thing to do. What do? I don't know. I'm not prepared for this. If it's something simpler, if it's something complex, it doesn't matter. We get through those times by reaching out. And seeing Grimmer able to do that, finally, you kind of get a sense of how...
It's a little scary the first time he does it, right? Like, when you see him and it's like, well, he's not smiling anymore. And then, like, he explains the whole thing and you're like, oh my gosh, this poor dude. I mean, because he said it in the last chapter, right? Like, I had to learn how to smile. And then, like, now we are seeing how forced of a response that seems to have been for him this whole time.
And definitely there's something in, like, the way that he talks about it, the way that he keeps asking. It is almost childlike. It is looking up to Tenma in a way.
Well, the other thing that this reminds me of, and I'm gonna pull religion in for a little bit. There's a thing in one of the Gospels that I think Christ says, right? Where he's like, okay, what is the sin against the Holy Spirit? Like, what's the thing you can't come back from, right? And it's like, what he says, I'm paraphrasing because I haven't read this in a while, but the thing that he says in that is like, the thing that you can't come back from is when you stop even caring if it's the thing that you can come back from, right? It's like when you are not even listening to that like conscience or whatever that's in your head, right? Which like in that case, he says it's the Holy Spirit, right? That's telling you when you've done something wrong. When you're not even listening to that voice anymore, that's the only thing that you can't come back from. So the fact, what I'm getting at there is the fact that this is something that Grimmer is concerned about, I think speaks to, like we said, that, this hasn't been erased from him, right? He is still, a person with emotions who can make connections, who can love other people.
Yeah. And, and you can tell that his state is distressing to him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it bothers him. He knows something is wrong. And it is very sad to see someone who's been
rough.
who's been that messed up, and they're just trying to do their best in life, but man, they got real bad. And it's also, what else I think is actually interesting now that I think about it? We said that he's a bit childish, but he's in his 40s.
Yeah.
Like he's, the timeline, he's in his 40s, and I think it's a very interesting set of character traits for a character in their 40s to have, because it's the kind of thing that you would normally apply to, like, a younger character, somebody that was still trying to find their way in the world, so that you could, like, be like, well, you get this in shonen a lot, even, you get somebody who's been brainwashed, and then the shonen hero talk no jutsus them into, reconnecting with their emotions, and you're not actually evil, come to our side, I'll be your friend, and then the bad guy like breaks down crying or whatever. So that's like this kind of echoes a bit of that, but the character's an adult. He's lived like this his whole life, and that kind of overwhelming change, it's not like he's unaware. He knows the whole thing. He knows what's going on, and it's not as simple as just saying the right thing, Like, this is how it is. Like, you got fucked up, and you had nothing to do with it. It wasn't your fault. You were victimized, but you still have to live with this. Like, this trauma is yours. And that's how it is. Another example of, I think, Urasawa being up on psychology, I think.
Yeah. No, I like this stuff a lot, even though, I mean, it is very sad.
It's sad.
But that is
maybe a little easy, maybe a little bit.
Yeah,
it's a little easy, but it's so effective that it's hard
works
to ding it too many points for being easy.
Yeah. But that kind of concludes the notes I had on 97.
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. So 98 is the cruelest thing. Milosh sits with Johan, dressed as Anna, who asks if they've met before, and asks why Milosh is wandering around looking for someone. Milosh explains that he's looking for his mother, and is convinced he'll recognize her when he sees her, and that she'll recognize him. Johan does an evil monologue about how Milosh's mother probably didn't want him, and how death is the norm, life is a mistake, asking what his reason to live is, and how he's not wanted. Grimmer and Tenma talk to a few of the locals near where Milosh went missing, who all know Anna, and point the two towards Johan's apartment. Tenma draws his gun, prepared to end it all, but the apartment is empty. Grimmer's at a loss for words and emotions, overwhelmed by the fact that Milosh is in danger because the boys were trying to clear his name. He tells Tenma about his own child dying. Grimmer had married a lady from the newspaper he worked at to improve his cover identity. They had a child who died. Grimmer tried to revive him, but couldn't. His wife didn't understand why he couldn't cry and accused him of being incapable of love, and then left him. The two stand in silence for a second and then determine that they have to save Milosh because Johan is probably going to kill him, but not before subjecting him to the cruelest thing possible. They race towards the red light district on the German border, where Johan has just left Milosh, telling him that he should walk towards the colorful area ahead, looking for his mother. If he can't find her, it means that no one wanted him. Milosh is left, filled with existential fear, but sets off to find his mother anyways. Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Oh
yeah.
boy.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I have more notes on the next chapter than this one.
I mostly just had on
But-
the, let's see, I have a couple on like the Milosh Johan conversation. Well, the
Yeah,
first
a couple
thing,
there.
at first I was like, well, I'm not sure if this is Johan or Nina, like right away. But then like the questions like Johan asking, have we met before? Milosh pointing out, hey, it looks like you're about to move, like there's nothing here, which is, what Lunge encountered in the last place that Johan was, no trace of a human being there, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then like it's really kind of incredible the transition from Nina eyes to Johan eyes when Johan begins his evil monologue, like narrows in on the thing that is going to destroy Milosh. Like
Yeah.
it's pretty good. As much as like I hate this thing that we're doing here where Johan is pretending to be Nina, the subtle transition from one to the other, like over 5 or 6 panels, I think is like very cool.
It is cool. I do think though, I think this particular like evil monologue, let's mess with this poor kid, some of it's good, right? Some of it's effective. Telling a kid that their mom didn't love him, that'll get him. That'll get a kid. I do
Just
think,
some random adult telling this boy that their mom didn't love them.
Yeah,
oh.
She probably just didn't love you, huh? I will say,
with the casualness that you just did too,
Yeah.
I think is like the key thing, right?
Mhm.
Like,
yeah. Did someone want you? Who wanted you? What's your reason to live? Yeah, man. I mean that's gonna scare the shit out of a kid. I do think the stuff about there's more death than life in the universe is some dollar store Nietzsche bullshit.
It's too
that
much.
cheapens the whole thing. Like, come on, man. Like it's we already know Johan is technically a nihilist and especially like operates out of nihilism when it comes to the value of human life and the value of human connection. He doesn't believe in any of it. He doesn't even think he himself exists. Blah 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 blah. Whatever. This particular thing, there is more death than life in the universe. As far as, on the grand scale, life is just a blip. Fuck off. Fuck off. Like, it's like, because here's my thing. It's just that if Johan is supposed to be this big, this scary, like, monster thing, capable of overthrowing Kinderheim 511 with the depth of his evil philosophy.
This is, like you said, dollar store Nietzsche. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, it's so shallow and not really befitting of the kind of stuff that we're told Johan can do.
The only thing I will say here is that if you are a 9-year-old boy, I think this does work on you. Because, like, this is the first time that I started to think about stuff like that when I was about that age, right? So it's like, I think, I totally agree with you. Like, it's tacky, it's a bit much. But I do think in the same way that, like, saying, well, maybe your mom didn't love you. Like, in the same way that works, I think saying, life is meaningless, isn't it? Like, I think does work.
I would have liked it more. I would have liked it more if Johan had
he phrased
said,
it that way with the casualness.
It's just like, it's at this very weird
It's so grandiose in a not good way.
Yeah, it's like it's grandiose, but it's too simple. But it's not really simple enough to realistically be told to a kid for them to understand. Like, if it was clearly being dumbed down for a kid to understand,
I think it would work better.
That would have been terrifying. But this is just in a weird space, and I get what Urasawa was going for, and I just think it's a pretty strong fumble that weakens the scene overall. But yeah. It was really funny when Grimmer and Tenma are like looking for Anna's apartment and everyone's like, oh yeah, Anna. Yeah, she lives right there. That's her apartment.
We love her. She's the best. She lives right there.
Right there.
Let's just tell these two strange men
exactly
where our favorite neighborhood girl lives.
Very, very trusting, these folks on the street. Yeah. And I think the only other note that I really have for this chapter. Well,
do you have anything about Grimmer's story?
Yeah, I was about to say.
My first note was how passionless the whole thing seems to be. I mean, he just tells it like a chain of event after event after event. This thing happened, that thing happened. The girl said she liked me. We got married. We had a kid.
Yeah.
You know, I did everything I was supposed to do, I think is the phrase that he says when he's trying to revive his child.
Yeah.
And that just feels like it could sum up the whole relationship, honestly.
I did everything I was supposed to do quickly and efficiently. Yeah. I think the thing that's really interesting, like, yes, the story is... Like, really seeing Grimmer's backstory is great. Mm-hmm. Like, having that full context. And this is a really good... It's also, like, you can... I think it would be fair for some readers to be like, why didn't we get this sooner? You know, like, they've been teasing his backstory since he was introduced. Why did it take this long? And I think it took this long because this particular set of circumstances is the exact right time for Grimmer to be talking about this. Like, he needs to have that level of trust with Tenma. They should be in heightened situations where he is being forced to, where maybe a normal person would feel something more than he feels. Like, I think this is just the right time for this exposition to happen and not feel forced. Yeah. Right? Like, it's not taking up extra space. We're not like, why is this happening right now? We know why it's happening right now. It's very well justified.
Yeah, no, I like it a lot. The other note that I had that was interesting here is the thing that his wife says to him, when he doesn't cry at the funeral is, your heart is empty, you can't love anyone. And we've talked a lot about how one of the themes of this story is connections, relationships, memories, holding people, love, all that stuff. And I think that it's interesting to think about, you mentioned it a chapter or two ago, right? Like, okay, if this is what happened to Grimmer, this is probably what happened to Johan. Right?
Yeah.
If he is the same way, some person who can't love and can't connect, right? Like, how does that, that everything he's doing is he's severing all these people's connections because that's the way that he is. But then the other thing is, like, you think about the mechanics of how they made them this way. It's by making them forget all of their connections.
Yes.
Right? Like brainwashing them, wiping out these memories. Mm-hmm. So it's like this thing that was supposed to make them, I don't know, give them superpowers is the thing that has become their greatest weakness or something. I don't know. That's getting a little Western comicsy with it.
Or if not, give them superpowers at the very least. I mean, the idea behind it is to make the perfect soldier, which isn't like the most powerful soldier. The perfect soldier is the one that does everything without question.
Yeah.
And is ideally incapable of doing anything else.
Yeah.
I think that's the perfect soldier.
Quick side note. Did you ever listen to the audio drama Homecoming?
No, I don't know.
Okay. They made a TV show out of it. I haven't seen the TV show, but the audio drama was very good. Oscar Isaac is the main character.
Oh, very cool.
And it deals with a lot of this stuff. I there's 2 seasons of the radio show. I only listened to the first, really liked it. I would say, listeners, if you like Monster, I would say listen to Homecoming. It's very good. Yeah,
I really like radio plays, so actually I might check that out.
I think you'd like it.
If you want a radio play to not listen to, don't listen to Limetown. Limetown sucks.
Oh, you think Limetown sucks?
Oh, Limetown sucks.
I mean, Limetown has problems, but I like that. Limetown is exciting, right? Is the thing.
No. Listen.
It is trashy TV.
It comes so highly recommended, and I listened to it last year. That show.
I think the first season's okay.
It's not. It isn't. And I'll tell you why. It's not okay because, like, they set up this main character, this investigative journalist, and you're like, okay, awesome, investigative journalist, we're gonna do some detective work. So what does this cool female main character do? She gets kidnapped a lot and then just asks people questions and they give her the answers. That is the entirety of what happens in that show. It is flashback after flashback, interview after interview. She has no agency of her own. She is not even that bright. Like, it is... I have never...
Well, it's Coincidence City, I think, is the thing there. It is so...
Like, and... very few things made me as instantly mad and sustained mad also as Limetown.
There's the one interview that she does. I think it's one of the early ones with that dude who's, like, kind of a kindly older man. Like, I do really like that episode.
Look, they can have a scene or two that's fine, but the problem is that the mystery isn't even that interesting, and it's given to the listener in an uninteresting way. Like,
Yeah.
it's just...
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's
want
extremely straightforward to the point where it's boring.
If you want a radio play about uncovering mysteries and exploring strange things, I could give you at least 5 off the fucking dome that do everything they do better and with more feminism than Limetown does.
Well,
like, what a fucking joke.
Do you know this stupid thing about Limetown too? Like,
What's
that
the
Adam
stupid
Bass
thing?
pointed this out one time. Okay, so like, remember the main thing of Limetown is they had this dude who was like psychic or something. I don't remember. He was psychic.
Yeah, they
Jesus.
had the psychic guy, which by the way might also
name
account
was-
for some of my dislike of it because I don't like ESP storylines. Like,
Okay.
I think it's boring. So that's also another thing.
So psychic Jesus, his name is Emil, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Emil.
Yeah.
What is Emil backwards?
Oh, fuck that.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Ugh, Christ alive. Anyway, so listeners,
Adam Bass pointed that one out of the
don't
Brain
listen
Trust.
to Limetown.
Yeah,
listen,
play
listen
Cobwebs
to,
instead.
Listen to The White Vault. Listen to Don't Mind Cruxmont by the same people. Listen to oh my god, listen to I Am in Askew. Fuck me, listen to I Am in Askew. I mean, that show is really something special and unusual. Listen to the Silt Verses. There's so many great radio plays out there. Did you know that Limetown won some kind of award? What, it won like a Pulitzer or some bullshit?
Did it win a Pulitzer?
It won some kind of... I might be thinking of...
Did it win a Webby?
Clybourne Park, which is a play that won a Pulitzer, and that play sucks shit. That play is racist, and it won a Pulitzer. Sorry, we got off topic.
Look, we had a
anyway,
tangent.
but you guys get it, right? You guys get it. Anyway, the point is,
your heart is empty. You can't connect.
Your heart is empty. You can't connect. Don't listen to Limetown. Yeah, and so the coolest thing... but the thing that really gets me, is that after Grimmer talks about, you're incapable of loving anyone, your heart is completely empty, and then she left. On the next page, he says, we have to find Milosh.
Yeah.
And it's just this really...
It's what we said. He is still a person. He can connect.
He can't connect. Other people have value to him. Whether or not that counts as love to him or anyone else, or to us, like, that's not really important. What matters is that other people and their lives have value, and even at his absolute lowest, that's still true. And that means everything. It's just like Matt said, you are only beyond saving when you no longer care about being saved. And it's just this really great way of showing a person who clearly feels as though they are beyond redemption, and then in the next breath they are redeemed.
Right.
It's
good.
Yeah, it is good. It is really good.
I don't really have any other notes on story stuff. I just think the way that the end of this chapter looks is very cool. Like Johan and Milosh like walking towards this border town. Like, that's a cool series of shots, on this road.
Yeah. I think the last page of the chapter is Milosh wandering into the red light district.
Yeah.
I do want to call out one particular panel. There's not a lot of visual notes that I have on this reading in general, but here's one of the few, which is there's a panel where Milosh is running into the sunset toward the red light district, and man, that really that one's brutal, because you're like, oh, this kid's running into hell, but it's framed in this almost optimistic way that makes it so much worse.
I think that is a very good... Running into hell is a very good way to think about the next chapter, because it is very much a Greek mythological, we are going into the underworld type deal. Yeah.
That's a good pull too. Yeah, so this is chapter 99, Border Town. Milosh wanders through a red light district and sees horrible, horrible things. That's most of the chapter. He comes to the conclusion that nobody loves him or wants him, and life is hell. Grimmer and Tenma are looking for Milosh. They look out over at a bridge. Whoops, there's Milosh. He's getting ready to jump. They go and grab him and try to reassure him And Grimmer tells him, I don't know what you saw, I don't know what you witnessed, but you were born for a reason. You are wanted. And he asks Dr. Tenma how he looks, and Tenma says, you're crying.
Damn, right in the gut. This is a Denny O'Neil ending. I call him every time they happen.
Man.
This is
a Denny O'Neil chapter.
Yeah, it
frankly.
really is.
Like, I mean, this is big time. This chapter is really unfortunately worth talking about.
Yeah, are we going to start with that? Because you pointed this out.
Almighty.
I mean, listeners, when Quinn and I were talking about this next chapter, I was like, well, boy, at least we made it out of the transphobia. And Quinn was like, well, Matt, you have forgotten one important piece.
One important thing.
And he pointed out a lot of it's related to the modern discourse, unfortunately. So we have to wade into it.
Yeah, the modern discourse, right? One of the big cudgels that bigots are wielding against the trans community is that they are pedophiles, groomers, that sort of deal. And this is...
Well, specifically, I think the thing that the way that they try to phrase it as a good faith argument is, look, I'm not against any of this stuff. I just think that it's wrong that you're marketing it to children.
Right, totally, yeah, with Drag Queen Story Hour, that kind of thing, and so there is something here, and honestly, I don't know enough about the conversation around transness in the 90s. Like, I tried to do a bit of research, but I couldn't.
Don't either.
Like, I couldn't really find much on it. One presumes that this was also part of the argument being made back then, but I don't know. But, this idea that trans folks will introduce sexuality to children in an aggressive, predatory way, and in this way change and corrupt your pure, innocent babes. Won't somebody think of the children? And in this
and that's
chapter,
exactly what happens here.
Yeah, literally, it is Johan who, again, in the guise of Anna, who the reader is meant to, maybe not meant, but who the reader understands as being
a man pretending, in big air quotes, to be a woman,
which is equivalent to a trans woman to a bigot's mind.
Yeah.
So this trans woman equivalent is sending a child into a sexually explicit situation in order to traumatize the hell out of them for their own means, or for their own ends, or for their own gratification, sexual or otherwise.
I mean, explicitly to get the child to kill himself.
Explicitly, ideally, yeah, to get the child to kill themselves. And it's like we said, we don't know what the conversation was like back in the 90s, but it fits uncomfortably well into the conversation as it stands right now. And it sucks. It's just the worst. Look, it would still be awful. It would be just as bad if Johan, not as Nina, was doing it, but it just wouldn't have this terrible transphobic aftertaste, and it would maintain every ounce of the horror. I just don't know.
Because to be clear, it is horrifying.
Doing this. Yeah.
And I think it is a very, one of my favorite phrases, as we know, cheap heat. And I think there's a couple things in this chapter that are cheap heat. But I do think the thing at the end that you didn't mention in your summary, when Grimmer and Tenma find Milosh, right, and they tell him, like, life is worth living, a butterfly flies by, and he crushes it under his foot. And this is, like, the thing that's meant to show the reader, like, oh, he has lost, he's completely gone, right? Like, he is... Yeah. His eyes get drawn a little bit differently is the other thing. Like, all the light has gone out of his eyes.
Yeah.
He is bought into this nihilism that is Johan's thing, right? And it's horrifying. It's terrible. It's one of the things I talked about when we first talked about Petrov, right? Is like, one of the horrors of Kinderheim 511 is that these children are being altered and made worse, without their knowledge, against their will, all these things. And this is like, you're seeing it happen in real time, and it's horrifying.
Yeah. And in such, it's really, this chapter is so hard to read. It is not fun to hang out with a child being traumatized by extremely sexually explicit things happening around them. I'm honestly shocked that Urasawa got permission to put this in a magazine.
He draws nipples a couple times.
Yeah, not in the same
Not that there's
panel
anything
as
wrong
the
with
channel,
nipples,
but,
and I mean, sex workers work, all that stuff, blah, 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 blah.
I mean,
but
this
is R-rated, this chapter.
Yeah, and it's just the idea of this kid in this context. It is a horrifying thing. Your stomach drops out. Like, you guys spend time on the internet, so you know what I'm talking about when I talk about, like, stuff on the internet you see that just sickens you. That is bottom rung disturbing.
Yeah.
And that stuff is kind of rare. It's kind of hard to find, and it's even harder to find it off of the internet. This gives me that feeling. This gives me that SpongeBob comic where everybody kills each other feeling.
Oh, I don't know
what
that.
I mean?
That sounds bad.
I only remember like it in bits and pieces,
Yeah.
but everyone
I
here
know what
has,
you mean though. That type of
that specific
internet
thing,
thing,
where like they take something familiar or innocent and make it this dark, edgy thing that just gets in and twists. And this does it so effectively. And we can also, I mean, this happens in King.
No, I have the note that this is a King thing. I mean, so Stephen King has written, I think, only 2 nonfiction books, maybe 3. But the first one that he wrote was back in the either late 70s or early 80s. It's called Danse Macabre. And it's from I guess he was like a teacher in residence at University of Maine or something. And this is like, he took his semester-long lecture notes and kind of compiled them into a book, which is just like his thoughts about horror and stuff like that. And on Just King Things, they had a field day talking about this book. I would say go listen to that episode. It's very good. I've read parts of Danse Macabre. There's parts of it that I think are pretty good. Other parts that I think are rough. But the thing that they keep coming back to a lot is he talks about horror, terror, and like, okay, I think horror is the one where it's like you're being jump scared. Terror is the one where you've got this deep underlying sense of fear, right? Like Lovecraftian type stuff. But then his biggest thing is, hey, when I can't get either of those, the thing that I'll do for a response is you go for the gross out, right? And like when I say cheap heat, that's what I mean by that. You're going for the gross out. And like there's a sequence with it's a man who says that he's a teacher in Germany, and he makes Milosh watch as he has very rough sex with a sex worker. And it's horrible. I mean, it's awful.
It's really, like I said, it is the kind of thing that you are just surprised you got permission to put in there. I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. To me, I think this chapter is effective, and I think the over-the-topness of it is frankly what makes it effective.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Like, it is a horrible, horrible thing. It is awful to read. And frankly, that I'll go to bat for it.
I think it works. I mean, I think is the thing.
I cannot imagine.
It's exploitation is what it is, right?
This
is exploitation cinema.
Yes, yep. My God, that's exactly what it is. It's exploitation, and it's like it's difficult for me to imagine another version of this chapter that does what this chapter does. You cannot. It requires this intensity. It requires this sickness. And like, could you have a similar like thing done in the story without this exact stuff? Yes, absolutely. Art doesn't have to be moral. Art does not have to depict moral things.
No, there was discourse like a little bit recently about, well, you should only judge characters by the end of their art. Yeah,
there always is, and it's bullshit. And I think this chapter is a good example of it. Like, I hate this chapter. I hate it. I hate it. I wouldn't change it, and I wouldn't remove it.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. Yeah,
but man, it's really. And I think it is also interesting because there are people who, when you pitch Monster to someone, you're like, oh yeah, this is kind of a dark manga, it's kind of a dark, heavy story. And then you watch it from the start with them, and they're like, this isn't actually that dark. And you're like, oh yeah, I guess not. I wonder why I thought that. This chapter, this one chapter, this chapter, I feel like like is such an outlier. Like it throws off the average so strongly that it leaches out into the rest of the series and makes the whole thing so much darker, because this bomb, this absolute fucking nuclear waste pile of a chapter, this elephant's foot, is just sitting here waiting, waiting to absolutely fuck you up.
Yeah. It's a lot. And I think all the content warnings that we have cover this, but I might include an extra one just
child endangerment.
Child endangerment would be another one that we have to put in. Yeah.
It's if I can't believe we didn't have that one already.
I'm gonna update those. I meant to search it before last time, but like I'm gonna update those community ones. Like they are so bad. They are so bad.
Yeah, it's I don't. The details really aren't important. It's just a parade of awful things.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I will say is and I said this the last time we had a chapter with sex workers, is I really like the way that Urasawa draws sex workers. I mean, and I think he did this last time too, where we have one that's just like doing bubble gum. Yeah. Like, that to me, like, as horrible as this chapter is, there's something to me that is very fun about that.
It is. Yeah, I do think I like the outfits he gives them. I think maybe there is a bit of criticism to be levied in that.
It's exploitative, I think.
It's exploitative, and also his sex workers are never explicitly beautiful. They're always
a little ugly.
They're always a little ugly. They are not, or at the very least, like in Urasawa's visual language, we understand them not to be fully
They're mean.
Beautiful.
I mean, because there's the horrible scene where the one like runs up to him and gives him a hug, and then they have like a moment where they look at each other, and you think for a second, like she's considering him, but she's considering him with spite, right? Is the thing. It's not like a real question of, is this my child? It's just kind of like, because then she says, I'd never be stupid enough to let something like this happen. And that's the gut punch for him in that moment.
It's hard to say. I think in general, Urasawa, we've said that, like, Urasawa
we were positive the last time sex workers came up. This time I think is much more negative.
Yeah, and it's kind of this weird thing where, like, Urasawa has trouble integrating those modes, because like like Margot Langer,
yes,
both real and fake, those are sex workers, and they are not portrayed negatively. Like it's like Urasawa, when he talks about sex workers, he does so positively. When he depicts sex workers, it's negative.
Not as positive. What I will say is, I think when you're telling a story that is so black and white morality as Monster is, right? As much as we say like, hey, the morality gets a little bit gray, and can you come back from killing a person, blah, 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 blah. I think when you're telling a story that is so just like traditional, this is a moral fable, as Monster is, it's hard to like come down positive on sex workers, right? Just because you have all of human history saying that this is a bad thing to do, I think, right?
There's a lot of stereotypes to try and not
overcome.
Do.
Yeah.
And it's also like, keep in mind, remember, these are not real people. These are not real. Nothing here is real. This is a story. And Urasawa designed these things as pieces in a machine to create an effect. Right?
And this is a horror chapter, right?
Exactly. Exactly. So he created this particular group of sex workers in order to inflict maximum trauma on this boy. And I think this is a really good example of the kind of caution that an author needs to have when they're like, okay, I have this job that I need something to do, so I'm going to design it fit for purpose. But then you end up doing harm as a result of making something too fit for purpose. You're writing a fantasy story. Oh, my hero needs... I
gotta have goblins to kill.
You gotta have goblins to kill, right? But then, oh, whoops! Look at that, anti-Semitic.
Oops.
It's oops. So this
Damn, I wish Urasawa had written a fantasy story.
Oh man, that would be crazy. I guess the point here is just that I'm saying that, like, when you prioritize function in the story over holistic depictions of something, a lot of the time, not even a lot of the time, but some of the time, if you're not careful, you're going to end up with things that maybe say stuff that you're not trying to say. So if any of you listening, like, you're like, oh, you're writers, you're trying to do this sort of a thing, when you're creating a character or set of characters or group of people or whatever, when you're creating them based on what you need them to do, take a step back and see what else that's saying and what else that's doing. Because if you're not careful, it can run right out of your hands and give worse people ammunition, things to say and things to think that, that might get out and do stuff that you don't want it to do in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have too much more to say on this chapter. The only thing that I have at the end is I think the panel of when they find Milosh, he's very small on this bridge, very far away. It's raining. The light is kind of like patchy. Yeah. I think that's a great panel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
Panel, that whole sequence at the end is really good.
And the fact that like the time when Grimmer is crying is in the rain, right? Yeah, I am a sucker for tears in the rain. Every time I watch the end of Blade Runner 2, it makes me cry, like ugly cry, not just like tears are coming to my eyes. Like I am like like gasping, sobbing at the end of Blade Runner 2.
Yeah,
and that's that's what we're doing here.
Yeah, and it's also like the thing here is that like Tenma doesn't give Milosh the pep talk. It's Grimmer. No. Grimmer does it, and Grimmer knows what to say.
Exactly
he knows
what to say.
Hear. And then he's crying at the end, and it's just human after all, to get like sentimental about it or whatever.
And I think that that's notable that he knows exactly how to counteract what Johan would have told him.
Yeah,
right?
or what he was told in Kinderheim. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like he knows. You can tell that he's talking to himself.
I mean, because Kinderheim was an orphanage, right? And what is the thing that... Well, and this is the thing that he says. He says, you don't have a mother, but that doesn't mean that you aren't loved, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that he says that.
Yes.
I love that he doesn't, like, try and say, oh, yeah, no, you have a mom, you just didn't find...
And she's out there and she loves you. No, he's honest with them.
You don't have a mother.
Yeah.
You do not have one, but that's not the end, That's not it. You don't need a mother to be loved, to be wanted in this world. It's a powerful thing for anyone to say, but it's even more powerful coming from Grimmer.
It's good. It's a good... I mean, this isn't quite the end of his arc. I don't know. Grimmer will probably come back, just the way that this comic works. But this is like... because we run out the clock a little bit on what Grimmer's doing in the rest of this reading. But, like, this feels like a good end to his arc.
Definitely. Right? Yeah, it is... That's the perfect way to put it. This little bit is about wrapping up what Grimmer has been doing, what his function in the story has been.
Yeah.
Because he gets introduced and we hear, his son is dead. He's trying to rectify, Kinderheim 511, and he has addressed both of those things now. With this scene, all of that is addressed. His smiling is addressed, like all of his threads are tied up. So that makes sense for why he departs next chapter.
In like 2 chapters from now. We still have a couple chapters to cover. We need to get moving. We've got 100, 101, 102, 103, 104. We have 5 chapters left to cover. We're not even halfway through this reading.
Lord Almighty. That said, this chapter probably had the most individual.
I think we'll speed through the rest of it, honestly.
I hope this, I hope listening to this chapter wasn't too difficult for anybody. I hope reading this chapter wasn't too difficult for anyone. It's a lot. It really is a lot. It's rough. Chapter 100.
House of Roses. As the chapter opens, Lunge finds a mansion with a locked gate, completely overgrown in roses. He pricks his finger on one of the thorns and remarks that it's like Sleeping Beauty's house. Elsewhere, Jan Suk awakens from his coma with memories of Anna Liebert. Lunge is there, waiting to greet him, explaining that he's a member of the BKA, but is here on vacation, not to arrest Suk. He reviews Suk's case and states that the circumstantial evidence suggests he's the murderer, to which Suk objects. Lunge then suggests Grimmer, to which Suk also objects. Lunge stands to leave and tells Suk to think about it and use his detective skills to figure out who did it, saying he should look at the person who he least wants to suspect. Outside the hospital room, a goon is waiting for Lunge, but Lunge quickly disarms him and asks for a meeting with his boss, the head of the Czech secret police. Lunge and Lanka meet and trade polite conversation that quickly turns passive-aggressive. Lanka says Lunge should have been more discreet in the case that led to his fall from grace, and Lunge tells Lanka that the Czech secret police should have set up a shadow government instead of just pretending to be something scary. At an impasse in the conversation, Lunge changes the topic to a true fear that came out of the old regime, and asks about the House of Roses and Franz Bonaparte. Lanka reveals that he doesn't know much and has tried to forget that the house existed. He says political prisoners were held there, and a team of researchers was working there, and then one day they all vanished without a trace. Lunge reveals he's been inside the house and asks about the hastily erected wall that looks pretty new. Lanka tells Lunge that he's in danger, and if he tears down that wall and tries to solve this mystery, he'll find the true fear that he's looking for.
Yep. Feels like a pretty plot-heavy chapter.
Extremely. Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of stuff that I think we'll come back to later about, Lunge says that this house looks like Sleeping Beauty's house. Sleeping Beauty comes up again in the next chapter a little bit.
We're getting
fairy tales.
Mentions of fairy tales, exactly.
Yeah.
So there's a couple things there, but I don't know. This chapter doesn't feel like it had a lot for me to grab onto.
The only...
I like Lunge in it.
Lunge's great
out
in this.
here swinging. I do love hanging out with Lunge.
He's giving tough love to everyone. Vacation Lunge is just being honest. I mean, he tells Sook, like, hey, your girlfriend is the one who did these murders.
Yeah.
Like, just what he says, you're a detective, figure it out, buddy. It's so good.
It is really funny. I like that scene with Jan, because Jan's just such a normal person. And we've talked about this before, normal people in the world of Monster, I know, but Jan is really hanging on to it. He does not want to believe the world he's in.
He's waking up from his coma with visions of his crush. I mean, poor dude. Like,
okay. And then there's Lunge, ready to call him
I'm
an idiot.
here, waiting for you.
Yeah. Yeah. It is interesting that Lunge is, like, using words like true fear and a true devil. Feels a little out of character in a way.
Well, to me, this works with his revelation from the end of part 1, right? Where, like, he has realized that, I mean, because that was, I think, the words that he used to describe the only way that someone could be like this is if they were a devil.
Yeah, that
right?
is true. That is true. True fear is a new one, though.
Yeah, true fear is a new one. I do like, then this is like another, this isn't, I don't think this, maybe this isn't intentional, but I like the idea that he says it was a true fear that came out of the regime. It's almost like a summoning. Right? Like, because he says that the fear that they had was false, but they were able to get something real out of it. Like, it reminds me of the beginning of Hellboy,
a true devil emerged
right?
from their fantasy is the way that you put it. Yeah, which that is a really interesting way to put it, right? Because, like, Kinderheim and, like, that whole project was clearly, a fantasy, this idea of the perfect soldier. But there's Johan, and Johan is very real.
Yeah.
So, and
I
so
like that.
It's a good way of putting it. Yeah, and it is interesting to identify the regime and identify this political group and their goals with the concept of fantasy. This idea that a whole bunch of people fooling themselves and then causing pain outside of that. Like, I don't know how strongly those themes are going to maintain, but it's an interesting, like, it's a single point of connection that could bear fruit, perhaps. But yeah, and I just think in general, like, the tone has shifted.
Oh,
quite
it's sick
strongly.
as hell. I mean,
yeah,
it's exciting. Lunge at this scary mansion. This is like gothic fantasy romance. Like,
yeah,
I love it. I love at the end when he's breaking down this wall. He's taking off his suit jacket. His tie is askew. He's hitting this wall with a shovel. This is dude's rock to me. Like, a guy in dress clothes doing manual labor
on his vacation.
Hell yeah, yeah.
Yeah, totally. I think it's also, I think in terms of formal structure, I think at this point it's good to note that, the first half of Monsters is pretty episodic, but the second half feels like one thing.
Yes.
You guys were here for the first 20 minutes of this episode. You know our thoughts on this. And I think maybe that's, to me, the second half, like, yeah, it's page turning. Yeah, it is chapter by chapter. But it feels like it's prioritizing the overall flow. The
way it's doing
scale.
Cutaways, yes. The way it's doing cutaways here is less, all right, let's go do another adventure. It's, we're going to cut away to build tension for the thing that you really want to see. And that dials it in the next chapter when we keep cutting back to Lunge breaking down this door, right?
Yes.
And it's like, you are dying to see what is behind this door.
Absolutely.
It's good. Yeah, I'm very glad you called out that change in pacing because I did not notice that, but I totally agree.
Well, I think it's been the case since the second season began.
Absolutely.
But we needed to get through a bit of it before we could say for sure that that's what was going on.
Yeah, because we talked about how Munich was different from Prague, and I think you have called out how it is.
Yeah, totally. All right. Yeah. Okay. Chapter 101, the sealed door. Lunge busts his way in. And we cut away to Tenma interviewing the guy who was the editor for Franz Bonaparte / Emil Scherb / Klaus Papa. So Tenma interviews him and learns a little bit about the author and how he was a psychologist, a PhD in psychology, a licensed medical doctor specializing in neuroscience, and how he was clearly working for some kind of strange government branch, but that he didn't seem like a politician. The last time he saw him, Bonaparte suggested a story about a door that must never, ever be opened. After Tenma leaves, the editor calls Tenma in, because he recognized him from a newspaper clipping. And then we cut back to Lunge entering the sealed room. It's just a big empty room. And Lunge says, "How many people died here? 10, 20, no, more than that." And as he looks around the room, he sees a portrait, a very large portrait above the mantelpiece of the woman from the sketchbook, the mother of the twins. I said a portrait about, didn't I? Did I say a portrait of?
I think you said a portrait of.
That'd be funny if I said about. But yeah, this chapter goes by pretty quick.
Because you're flipping pages to see what is behind that door. Because it keeps cutting, like I said, a minute ago, it keeps cutting back to Lunge breaking down this door.
Yeah, and that sequence at the beginning of Lunge, bashing, like digging his way into the door is super exciting. It's so suspenseful, and there's the door,
and
all
it
of
makes
the
it so slow. It breaks it down into
it.
so many detailed panels. You're just like, oh, give it to me.
It's great. It really is good. And then right as he opens it, then bam, cut, and it's like, oh, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, it's perfect pacing.
It's really great pacing and very reminiscent of what makes a lot of modern TV good. It's really interesting the way that Monster, especially this back half, feels like modern prestige television more than it feels like a film or a television series from the era that it came out in. Like, this kind of pacing is so Fargo.
We have joked a lot about how we would cast Monster in different ways, right? Like if we're doing The Office, if we're doing The Muppets, right? If we're doing a movie. But if we're doing prestige TV, like this is the thing now, like if we're doing an HBO show.
Right. Because Monster's on HBO. Monster's on HBO.
Oh, Monster's on HBO. Yeah. Like who do we cast in this if we're doing Monster on HBO is the thing.
Monster on
I think we have to do this maybe as a bonus, right? Where we come up with picks.
Yeah. We can't spend too much time on it.
No,
but
not today.
But it is always fun to think about casting. But this what do you think of this little editor character? I think he's kind of fun. He kind of feels like the kind of character we'd see more frequently in the first half of the series.
Yes. No, and I was trying to bounce out, whether is he also sinister or not. And I don't think he is. My favorite detail about him is he says he's not an editor anymore. What he does is he just spends his time reading newspapers from all around the world, and like he's a columnist, right? And I love that. So here's the thing that I did make note of, right? Is, okay, so here are the professions that this story has talked about a lot. We've talked about doctors a lot. We've talked about sex workers a lot. We've talked about people who work at newspapers a lot, right? Because Grimmer's cover story was he worked at a newspaper. Tenma has made friends with multiple newspaper guys, and now this guy is also a newspaper guy. I think it's interesting that these are like the three professions in this. Well, I guess the fourth profession would be professional assassin.
Yeah, but these are the kinds of people that this series focuses on.
Yeah. Huh. So I like this guy a lot, and I don't think he's sinister. I think he's doing the right thing in calling in this person that he thinks is a murderer, right? from his newspaper clippings.
I wonder if he wanted to get psychoanalytical with it. I wonder if like killers, sex workers, well, it's killers, sex workers, doctors,
newspaper guys.
I'm just wondering if there is some way that we could map id, ego, super ego to this.
Jeez.
I don't know, like professional killers and sex workers maybe id, and then doctors maybe ego, and then the newspapermen who report on it, who observe from outside, maybe that's super ego. Maybe this, I mean, I know for a fact this is dumb. This is like a silly lens.
Look, go for it. But yeah, I can't speak to it. I did think it, like I said, I think it's interesting that, you know, there's the two genders memes. Here are the four jobs in this story.
The four genders, yeah.
I like it. I like this guy. I love the backstory that he gives. Like, he's like, yeah, he would hang out with my daughter. My daughter thought he was really creepy. Like, all the stories that he tells about this dude, like, all of his books about fairy tale monsters. Because one of his other ones was like, yeah, I was gonna write this book. It was kind of like Sleeping Beauty, kind of like Beauty and the Beast. You know.
Yeah. I also wonder if, like, he says there was an elegance and grace to his bearing. He had a light and breezy expression on his face. Well, now, who else do we know who could fit that description?
Johan,
you know, so that strikes me as just an interesting point of connection or continuation.
Yeah, because at this point, I'm pretty sure, and I'm just going to lay this out, because you like it when I make calls like this,
I love it when you gamble.
I'm pretty sure this is the deal, right? Because we learn in the next chapter, or maybe 2 chapters from here, that Margot Langer's best friend, her parents were political dissidents or something, and she was captured and brought back to Prague trying to escape. So I think she ended up at this mansion, right, where, you know, because that's what the guy says is, or that's what in the last chapter what the colonel said was political prisoners went there. There were researchers. I think she ended up there. You know, Franz Bonaparte was in charge of this mansion. Clearly, he is fixated on her in some ways. I mean, he has sketches of her. There's the portrait. I think he is the twins' father, is the thing. And she tried to leave him at some point, and then he has snatched them back.
Interesting.
You know, whatever. I don't know. I can't say for sure.
I'll be honest with you. I legitimately don't remember if that's right or not.
Really? Okay, that's interesting.
Well, the further we get into the series, the less detail I remember.
Okay.
Is kind of how it always goes with me. I remember the beginnings of things quite clearly, but the ends get fuzzy.
My other thing is that I think that the party that Nina has a flashback of, I think that's like a Jonestown situation, you know, where Lunge says many people died here. I think it's a party in that room and it's poisoned wine or something and everyone's dying for some reason.
Could well be. Yeah. We'll
poison candy. Who loves doing poison candy? It's Johan.
Who loves
I don't know. We'll see.
There's also something, you know what's interesting about that poison? What was it? There was something I was watching. Oh, that's right. It was a really bad episode of SVU.
Bad episodes of SVU are such a delight.
Terrible episode of SVU.
SVU, I'm gonna make a call that is gonna probably frustrate some of our listeners. I hate Law and Order. It is one of my least favorite television shows.
I'm not particularly partial to it, but it can be compelling. You gotta.
I mean, look, you gotta have something on while you're folding laundry. I will give you that. But like,
yeah, it's good for that. Well, Maya was so like my best friend Maya. She is like the youngest of several kids, and in a house that like kept taking in strays. You know, so by the time she came out, her mom was completely sick of kids shows, so she just watched SVU. Maya just grew up on SVU, and now she goes to sleep with SVU on. She will just leave it running all night long. So, like, you know, and she's also a true crime fanatic. So just that kind of a person. So I've watched SVU a decent bit at this point. Some of it's really goddamn good. Some of it's legitimately great, as long as you can, you know, swallow the premise of.
I like Stabler a lot. I like Stabler a lot.
Yeah, man, Stabler Benson. No, it's great.
Yeah.
I love Munch. Anyway, point is...
Yeah, Munch is great.
Point is, though, there was a bad episode of this that put a lot of weight on poisoning being a woman's way to kill. Like, men don't poison was the refrain.
No, that's not just from SVU. I've heard that before.
Yeah, it's roughly true. You know,
it's very funny.
Kind of borne out, but it is funny to hear it stated in that way and then used as like investigative thing. But this whole thing about like poisoning, And the fact that it is considered, especially even more in the 90s, a effeminate means of murder, it might also speak to Johan's gender nonconformity, that when he kills, it is not with his own two hands, it is through proxies or through poison.
It's through physical poisoning or mental poisoning.
Yeah, and there's a couple ways we can read that, because that's also devilish, because the devil doesn't get his own hands dirty.
Ooh.
Right? So there's a connection there, but I also think that there is an unfortunate association with being not manly.
Yeah. Good call. Good pull. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. A story.
The only other note that I had here, I think it's a very good bit when the editor's like, yeah, he used to sit in that chair that you're sitting in right now, and Tenma's like, oh shit,
yeah,
and he looks down at the chair.
Yeah, Tenma is very uncomfortable in that moment, and that is a fun moment.
There is a chair. I'm going to tell Matt's story real quick. There's a chair in our basement that is it's a crate, right, that is fashioned into a chair, and my mom hates these chairs, right? My dad and his dad made them. Right, they're super clunky and kind of ugly. Like when we were kids, we would roughhouse, and because they have sharp edges, because they're made out of shipping containers, we would hurt ourselves on these chairs all the time. Right, They are mine. Like I have laid dibs to them. When I have a house, I'm gonna get those chairs. But recently, like in the last 3 or 4 years, those chairs came up in conversation, and my mom looked at me point blank and was like, your grandfather died in that chair, and I was like, excuse me. She's like, yeah. When he had that heart attack, it was in that chair.
Jesus.
It's like, oh.
Wow.
So, that was what I thought of when I saw that.
Get some, spray paint and put, R.A.P. Grandpa on it.
Yeah, on the side somewhere. But honestly, what that did was it made me want the chair even more. Oh, yeah, goth girls will love that
They're
story.
like, oh, fuck, your grandpa died in this chair?
In this chair?
In this chair. Yeah.
It's a good chair.
At least he was comfortable.
Yeah, but he positively was.
Yeah. But yeah, do we think there's anything here? Is there anything interesting about a story about a door that must never ever be opened? The door absolutely can't be opened, so I guess it's not much of a story. Obviously, we're supposed to identify this with the door in the Red Rose Mansion.
Yes.
But that seems like kind of a boring conclusion. Do you think it has any other thematic relevance? What door? Because maybe he's talking about a different door. Is he talking about a metaphorical door? What would that metaphor be? Well, the
first thing it made me think about, before he said this isn't really a story that we can tell, the first thing that I thought about was Schrodinger's cat, right? If the door is open and closed at the same time, we can't know what's behind it, right?
That's interesting.
Yeah. But I don't know. I do agree. If you're just saying, well, there's a door that can never be opened and that's the end of the story, I don't think that that's interesting. I think the editor's right. That's a terrible story. But
yeah.
I don't know. At this point, I can't figure out if it doesn't seem to thematically fit with everything else that we have said about this story.
It doesn't seem to hook in. The gears aren't clicking in, and maybe we'll get some more gears eventually that will connect this up to the larger apparatus. But
it makes what we're doing right now with Lunge more interesting, right?
Yes,
but
yes,
it doesn't. Nothing more for the story as a whole.
And that kind of surprises me. It seems like this is a really good opportunity to have done something that with a bit bigger scope. So that's kind of why I feel like maybe it does, and we just don't know it yet. So just something to keep a pin in, keep an eye on. Yeah, keep an eye on doors and that sort of a thing. And then there is that great sequence with Lunge checking out the room. That full page of Lunge just in this empty room. Oh, buddy. What was your first thought when he gets in this room and we've been building up to this for this whole couple chapters and it's a big empty room? What was your first Well, I
thought he was going to go down into a basement lab or something like that. Yeah. And there's something about just an empty room where we don't know what happened is just oh, it's such a good, you think you're going to get the answer, but then you don't. We're just continuing to build tension. And he has a couple details. There's a single chair sitting in the middle of the room that's spooky looking. I love him just ripping boards off the windows to let more light into this room so he can see what is in here.
Yeah. It's the sequence, the page where he's figuring out how many people died is so well done. It's insane. Yeah. It's so good. The way that he's looking back and forth and counting. And it's also really cool because how does he know? Like, we don't know where he's getting this from.
It's his subjective in the mind of the killer thing, right? I mean, the only thing that he says that would give any indication is it smells like disinfectant in here, right?
Yeah.
Like someone wiped this room down,
Yeah.
right? But damn, it's good. I like it.
Yep.
And then he pries the bars off the window so he can get a view of the painting, which is, of course, a fully portraitized version of the sketch from the sketchbook he found earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A woman who looks like Johan and Nina, who we assume is their mother, is
Indeed. The mother of the twins. Yeah, pretty good chapter.
Good
chapter. I gotta say, I'm really pleasantly surprised by how much pod we're getting out of this stuff.
This is gonna be a long 5-star runtime, folks.
5-star runtime, 5-star podcast. No thanks, of course, to our digressions on various things.
They've been fun. This is a Friday afternoon pod. We're having a nice, lazy Friday.
I think they're fun. I think they're not completely irrelevant.
No.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you for listening.
Let's go to chapter 102.
102, A Long Goodbye. Tenma and Grimmer go by the orphanage where they dropped Milosh off, and he seems to be recovering. Kids are resilient. Grimmer watches the kids playing soccer sadly, saying that he's realized he's bad at soccer because it's all about teamwork. The two go to visit Jan's mom, who eventually seems to recognize them, telling Grimmer that he shouldn't spend all of his energy thinking about other people, and she hopes that he'll always be good friends with Jan. Grimmer and Tenma talk about how Jan will always have to be on the run, like Tenma, and then Grimmer announces his plan. He'll send a letter to the cops, framing himself for their crimes, and then go on the run in Jan's place. Grimmer will cease to exist, because after all, he never really existed in the first place. Tenma and Grimmer have an emotional goodbye, and Grimmer tells him, I know there's no point in telling you to be safe, but just don't die. Tenma makes Grimmer promise that they'll meet up again someday and have that picnic and go trout fishing. The two split, and Tenma stops to help a kid who scraped their knee. Suddenly, the cops arrive to arrest Tenma. Man, I did not expect that ending.
Exactly.
I really did not.
I mean, that's what really sings about this chapter is that it has finally happened, and it really is at the moment where you would least expect it,
because he slipped out of it so many times before, and then it hits us here.
It hits us here in the middle, just like there's other stuff happening in the chapter. He's doing his doctoring thing, and we're like, okay, I guess, maybe it's a return to the status quo. Maybe... Yeah,
what doctor thing is he going to go off on next?
Exactly. But no, he's getting fucking arrested. It's finally
This is it.
happened.
It's the end of the road.
He doesn't have... they have him surrounded. They are pointing all of their guns at him. He has no way of getting out of this. It's finally happened. And it is happening, we've talked about how Urasawa knows that he's writing something episodic. He knows that he's writing something in volumes, right? And this is genius because it's not happening at a volume ending point, right? It's not happening at a place where you would expect a cliffhanger, and that's what makes it hit so hard. So it's really cool. It's really cool. Do you have any thoughts about this chapter?
The only note that I have is, Grimmer says this thing like, I'm going to have to go on the run, Grimmer will cease to exist, but he never really existed in the first place. This is the thing that Johan said back during the fire, right? Like, I don't exist. Did he say that? When did that come up?
He says, he says I don't exist.
Okay.
He said it when he was with fake Margot Langer.
Okay, with fake Margot Langer, that's when he said it. And this is, I know one of the things about the end of this story is, did Johan ever really exist, right? I don't know.
Such an annoying question.
Yeah, a little bit, but I think it's
such a game theory ass question. Keep me out of that shit. God,
you're right.
Is there I hate. Here's my thing. Since it came up, and I'm sure I'll talk about this more later, but just in case anyone wanted to know what my take on this was, I strongly dislike any theory about a piece of fiction that invalidates part of the premise. If it invalidates part of the premise, fuck you. Back to the drawing board. You have to trust what the series tells you.
Yeah. And I think I agree with you. I think that this is a silly question because, Grimmer never really existed. Of course he did. Grimmer's just a name, but you are a person.
He's just talking about the name. He's just saying, the
name
doesn't belong to me.
That's what he's saying here.
Which is an interesting and meaningful thing for him to have said, Like, I had a name, they took it away from me, and they gave me Grimmer. But Grimmer doesn't really belong to him. Like, that's just what people call him. And so, like, that's what makes it such a heartbreaking and meaningful thing for Grimmer to say, you know, and it's very wistful, bittersweet. Super bittersweet.
Yeah.
You know,
no, the sequence of them leaving each other is fantastic. I mean, they both do the turnaround and wave as they walk away.
Yeah.
It's a neat, the way it's drawn is neat because it goes to like soft white light. There's no backgrounds, and they're like having their emotional moment with each other, and then we slowly fade back to the detailed city backgrounds as they walk away. Like, it's cool. I like it. It's good.
Yeah.
You know, them saying we're gonna go trout fishing someday, like, probably not. We know this about this story, is that when you make plans to do things, you're tragically killed.
Especially fishing. Fishing is really the death toll on
the death
fishing
note.
is
very high.
The little sequence with Milosh counting at the front of the chapter
I
is
love it.
So cute.
It's so cute.
It's so cute. He counts up, and everyone and all the other kids laugh, and it's really it's
and there's a
adorable.
moment of tension where he gets knocked over in the soccer game. It's the same as like when Grimmer got knocked over and he realized these kids aren't psychopaths, right? It's like Milosh gets knocked over and you're like, how is he going to react to this? And all of his friends are like, hey, we love you, Milosh. And he's like, I'm okay. And then Tenma and Grimmer are like, okay,
Milosh
thank God, he's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Tenma does doctoring, and then whoop, there it is. Yeah. Okay. Anything else about this chapter in particular? I
don't have anything else.
This one's also short. It feels like I think this is a really short chapter.
103, it's pretty quick.
102.
Oh, 102 was quick. Yeah.
Yeah. 103 and 104 I think are a little bit chunkier in terms of strength. Okay.
104, I think we're gonna have a lot to talk about.
Yeah. In 1976, Helenka Novakova, also known as Margot Langer, Real Margot Langer, has received a letter from her friend in Prague. And she seeks comfort in, what's his name?
Now I can't remember.
Schuwald, yeah. Seeks comfort in Schuwald. In the present day, Dr. Reichwein talks to a real inveterate alcoholic who mentions that a friend of his, who's also a terrible alcoholic, wants to see him, but he's got something more important to do. So he goes and he meets with Schuwald, and he shows Schuwald all of his travel photos to Prague, and says he didn't actually learn anything, not a single clue. In the past, Schuwald goes to Prague and meets with the mother of the twins and sees the twins hiding behind her skirt. Back in the present, Reichwein is about to start a counseling session until he hears that Dr. Tenma's been arrested. He runs out to watch the news, and then his patient comes in to also watch the news, and it's Ava Heinemann. All right. That was a bit of a messy summary. I hope everyone followed that.
No, it works.
Yeah. Yeah. I love seeing Ava.
I do too. At this point,
Ava.
I love it when Ava shows up.
Yeah. Remember, I told you love to hate. It's just like whatever.
She's
Ava
the worst. I love her.
Yeah. It's just cool to see her again. It's been so long and you're like, oh, fuck, Ava.
I thought she was going to show up a volume or two ago. And then when she came this time, I was like, here she is. She's back.
Here's Ava. Yeah,
Worst
it's great
girl.
to hang out with Reichwein. It's so good to see Reichwein again. I was missing
his travel
my boy.
photos are so good. They are so good. Listeners, you need to just look at this chapter just for his travel photos. There's one he says, I even got a portrait made of myself. And his portrait is like him doing the thinker pose.
Yes.
It's so good.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Actually, so he mentions the Karlov Bridge. I've been there. That was one of the places I went. I remember hanging out kind of at the end of the bridge with Lucy, and I almost swore loudly in Russian, and then I remembered. What? Well, there's that meme, right? Sukobiat.
No, I don't know this. You need to explain this to me.
It's just a Russian swear that you see around, or it's like Russian Polish. and you like see it around on the internet, like in like country ball spaces.
Okay.
I guess.
Oh God. Oh my word.
Yeah, bit of a
That's a
blast from the
space that I
past
forgot
there.
about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Oh my
Anyway,
word.
so it was just in my head at the time, and I almost said it, and then I was like, maybe I don't loudly swear in Russian in the middle of Prague. Maybe I don't do that. So that's my story about the Charles Bridge.
What's the anime girl one about the European nations?
Italia.
Yeah, is Country Ball Italia?
Yeah, essentially.
Okay.
Country ball, I mean, they are basically the same thing. I mean, any personification of countries. Although, I mean, I don't know about personifications of countries, but I do like fiction about, like, things that are personified. There's a series called The Authority, which was from Wildstorm, and there's a character in that, Jack something. Lord? No. But his power is like
Is that the one with the ghost and the drummer? Is that the Authority, or is that a different one?
That's a planetary.
Okay, yeah.
But the thing that this character can do in the Authority is he got modified by aliens, so now he can talk to cities. Like he can connect with cities and like talk to their personifications. And I'm just like this makes no sense, but I love it. And there's a character who needed way more screen time, and we didn't get enough time with that super weird and cool superpower. And the Authority is honestly kind of bad. Mark Millar had a long run on it, so exactly. Yeah.
Listeners, I made it phased. Mark Millar is not one of my favorite writers.
No, Mark Millar. There's a
I feel like there's one Mark Millar story. It's the Red Sun is the one everyone likes, right? That's his only.
Yeah, I think
I don't really care.
It's fine.
There's parts of Red Sun that I like.
Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, I think the sequence at the front of this chapter with Helenka is good. I like learning a bit more about her. I like seeing more of her. It would be very easy for Urasawa to just not do anything more with the character.
I'm surprised we've seen as much of her as we have, honestly.
Yeah, for real. Yeah. And
the only note I have from that is, she says call her by her real name. Just after we said the thing about like, Grimmer, does that really matter? That's not a real name. So I think, I don't think this is as big of a theme as like connection and love and family and stuff like that. But I think like names and stuff like that, especially because like Johan's name has come from this storybook, right?
Yeah,
like,
no, I mean like the nameless monster. What do we need names for? Like the idea. Names are important in Monster because identity is important.
It's tied to your name so much. Yeah,
exactly. And so I think it makes a lot of sense that a story so strongly tied to the concept of identity is using names as like
shorthand
tools.
for
Exactly. This Grimmer character doesn't exist. He doesn't exist, but that name is a false name and a false identity that doesn't have a lot to do with the actual human he is. Is kind of the way that I'm seeing it. And we have multiple characters in this story that use different names for different reasons. Have names taken
Nina,
from
Anna,
them,
Johan, like that whole thing is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's in Monster we see a lot of the functions of names. Names can represent, names can obfuscate, names can mislead, names can hide. Names can also be honest and revealing. So there's all of these things names can do. And they're very tied up with a lot of the stuff that is important to the series.
Yeah. That's really I don't really have any other notes on this chapter.
What do you think about Mr. Talbach? The patient that
that dude sucks. My note is he is horrible. Where he's like, I made a ton of money on the stock market, so I went out on a couple drinks, and the way he is so smug about it, he's terrible. I hate him. And Reichwein is just so like exhausted by this dude.
Yeah, Reichwein does not like this guy. The guy says, "There's a woman I'd like you to see," and Reichwein like has the little
not now. I don't have time.
Yeah, another new mistress, and he like has like the little like nose like snort. Like, come on, man. Yeah, it's funny. And the travel photos, so funny.
Perfect, good. I'm going to use those as the thing for this week. I
was just thinking
his travel photos.
Yeah, I love that.
I like that him and Schuwald continue to hang out. Like, honestly.
Yes. Yeah. It's cool that Schuwald.
And I had said previously that I'm done with Schuwald Carl being tender. I'm through with it, but. Mm-hmm. when Reichwein is like, hey, I heard you're not eating. Like, that's not good. You have stuff to live for. You have a son who loves you. He's right out there,
Yep.
Like, Reichwein continues to be a good doctor.
Yep.
And a good friend,
Absolutely. Yeah. Reichwein, maintaining a connection, right?
Mm-hmm.
Reichwein and Schufald, they connected, and that connection has maintained, which, boy, howdy, are we going to talk about
what?
that
Chapter
next chapter?
104.
Yeah. Yeah. And,
Are we ready to just get into it?
I think we're ready to just get into it.
Okay. So chapter 104 is called The Ones Left Behind, and I do want to make the note very quick that there have been previous chapters. It was The Woman Left Behind, which was the first chapter that we got with Ava after the Turkish quarter stuff.
Nice. Good
and
pill.
Then we got
Good
The
pull.
Man Left Behind, which was the Lunge chapter immediately after that, right? So the ones left behind are typically stuff about people from Tenma's past. Which
wow.
Is what
Matt,
this chapter is.
How did I miss that? God damn.
It's well, part of it was because when those chapters came up, I thought those names were a little clunky, and then when this one came up, I was like, oh, here it is. There we go. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So this chapter, The Ones Left Behind. So actually, I did not finish writing my summary for this one, so I'm just going to try to do it off the dome. It's going to be a little bit sloppy. A group of people meet in a cafe and catch up on each other's lives. All of them are former patients of Dr. Tenma who were given a second lease on life because of his life-saving surgeries that they did. They looked at the chair where he used to sit drinking his tea alone and say that, obviously he could not have done this murder that he's been accused of, and they have to figure out how to help him. We then cut to Dr. Schumann. From the village when Tenma was being Frontier Dr. Tenma. He's living with, Petra and Petra's son, the police officer, and they're also talking about Dr. Tenma and how he's been wrongfully imprisoned and they have to do whatever they can to help him. Petra tells Dr. Schumann that he needs to go, so he can be a character witness for Tenma's innocence. And they have a brief argument where he says, if I leave, then who will be the doctor for the town? And Petra says, we'll get someone from the hospital in the next biggest city. You have to go because I wouldn't have my life if it wasn't for this man. You and me and my son would not be together if it wasn't for Dr. Tenma. So Schumann agrees to leave, but not before first checking up on the patient who a guy on a motorcycle has come in to tell him that he needs to check on. We then cut to, is it the Vietnamese doctor next?
Yes.
Okay, so we cut to the Vietnamese doctor from Munich who Tenma worked with and told her that she should go to medical school and become a doctor so she could better assist in her work at the refugee clinic. And she also is watching the news report about Dr. Tenma and trying to figure out what she can do to help him. And we get a little bit of updates on her. She has now decided that she's going to medical school, stuff like that. She's trying to figure out how she's going to help him. Then I think we cut to Carl and Herr Schuwald. Where Herr Schuwald is instructing Carl that he needs to go and, go to every region in Germany and hire the best lawyer there, because the big kind of thing in this chapter is no one knows where Tenma's going to be brought to. There's a lot of discussion about, the BKA doesn't lead investigations, but, they'll interrogate. We don't know where he's going to go. It might be Heidelberg. It might be somewhere else. Who knows where he's going to end up? So Schuwald has instructed Carl that he needs to go to every region in Germany and hire the best lawyer so that they can defend Tenma, because this is how they strike back against the darkness, right? This is how they defeat Johan, is by protecting Tenma in this moment. We then cut back to the cafe. Dr. Becker's there as well, and he says that what these people are doing is it's very sweet, it's very kind-hearted, but it probably won't work. But they should still come together for Tenma. And then the chapter ends with Dr. Reichwein and Ava on the train to Prague, with Ava revealing her connection to Tenma to Dr. Reichwein, and them saying that Ava is the only one who can save him. Even though he ruined her life, Ava knows the truth about who was there on the night of one of those first murders, and she is going to be the key to getting him out.
Yep.
What a chapter.
What a good chapter.
Hey everyone, let's lend our energy to the spirit bomb for Dr. Tenma so he can defeat Cell.
Bomb.
Or young Boo, not Cell.
Yeah,
the spirit bomb's for Boo.
Well, the spirit bomb's for a few things, eh?
But everyone lending their strength is for Boo.
I thought it was for no, wasn't it for Vegeta? Wasn't it like at the first? Wasn't it in the Saiyan saga that he did the Spirit Bomb?
Maybe they do it every time. I just know about it from the Mega 64 video,
times.
honestly.
I see.
Because it does make me cry when. Here's the thing that will make Matt cry: everyone lending their energy for the Spirit Bomb. It's a banger.
You know, I'm actually surprised not to see. I'm surprised you didn't see the Turkish folks.
Yeah, that.
But he only had so many pages, and you know.
Oh, and where is our buddy, the little criminal?
Otto, where's Otto?
Where's Heckle?
Where's Otto Heckle? Man.
But when the doctor, when Schumann and Petra's son showed up, I was very happy for that.
Definitely. Yeah, no, it's
and that I think is the part that makes me cry, honestly. Like when they're talking about, you know, everything that Tenma has done for them, and it is such a good inversion on what we know about Tenma. So, because we talked about this in Tenma's flashback chapters. Oh, Tenma also has no connections; he is alone, right? And what these chapters are showing us is, no, he was never alone. Everything that he has done for all of these people, of course, everyone remembers him, right? Like. Man, it is so good.
He has done good in the world.
This is some real It's a Wonderful Life ass shit.
Yeah, my God, that's exactly what it is. And it's also, I feel like this is necessary too, because this, remember, again, we talked about Urasawa knowing when a volume ends. This is such a good volume end.
Oh, yeah.
Especially after the volume, including Border Town, right? Mm-hmm. Like, after a fucking bomb like that, we need some tums. We need some emotional tums.
Good. Yeah.
And this is just such, like, you know, even though there's still stakes, even though there's danger, it feels so good to be like, the people we can trust, the people we can rely on, they're coming together to help Tenma. Like, we have, even if things are bleak, even if stuff is hard, we have each other. You know, and that's, and that gives the reader strength, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I really do feel emboldened and reassured by this chapter.
And, like, honestly, the fact that, you know, I've talked before about how a couple volumes ago I realized, like, oh, maybe killing Johan is not the way that we need to go about this, right? Like, now the fact that the story has said, actually, the way that you defeat the monster is through community and connections. Like, holy cow. It is, oh my word, I did not see it coming at all, and I should have, but because, like, I mean, I bought in too quickly to, we need to kill this horrible little child. And I'm embarrassed to admit it, but that is, I bought in right away.
I mean, Maya constantly razzes me because the first time, so I only finished Avatar: The Last Airbender for the first time recently. And so that last spoilers, right? So the last bit where
good pull, honestly,
where Aang is fighting Ozai, and the whole time I'm like, all right, Aang, just kill him. And Maya's like, you are misreading this so bad. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Just kill him. And then Aang takes his bending away, and I was like, oh well, if that was an option, you know, like, oh, I guess if that was an option, okay, you know.
Is it a little bit of a Deus Ex Machina? Yes. But does it thematically fit with the whole show?
Yes,
absolutely.
It would make no sense at all for Aang to
if he
do
killed
a murder.
Him.
It would make none, you know. But it's also it's modern radicalization brain where like murder feels like a big option these days. Although, you know what else this does make me think of, though? Fargo, because let me tell you something. That first season of Fargo, maybe the most of any piece of media I've ever seen, portrays murder as a horrible thing no one should ever do. Like, it was so sickening when people killed each other in Fargo, and like, I've been in the world, I've seen lots and lots of murder and death in media, and perpetrated plenty of it in video games. I have never, ever encountered one that really made you feel the pain and awfulness of taking a life like that first season of Fargo. It was really impressive. At least that's
we've
how
got
it
some
felt
real.
to me.
You know, I don't want to be too mean because I know you did say you just watched the show, but we've got some real guy who's only seen The Boss Baby.
You're absolutely right.
You know,
look, listeners. I mean, like, I don't spend a lot of time with like prestige crime television. Fargo's
so
an
this
outlier.
is a big thing that Quinn has watched this show, honestly, because that is not in their lane.
It's also like, to me, I think it's just because the stylization of Fargo is just ever so slightly more heavy-handed than the stylization of The Sopranos or The Wire or Breaking Bad. These are all very grounded shows stylistically, not just in terms of setting, but in terms of stylization. But Fargo, the camera work,
goofy.
It's goofy. The camera work is more interesting.
There's large adult sons.
Is more interesting. Yeah, it just has more going for it for me. It's heightened. It is heightened a little bit, and I require some heightening to really get into something. So it is special. And yeah, I'm willing to tank that. I'm willing to take that only seen Boss Baby. I am really susceptible to only seen Boss Baby. I remember I was hanging out with someone.
I mean, I am too.
And I was looking through like a tarot deck that they had, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this reminds me a lot of this card in Toth in this other tarot deck." And they're like, "Yeah, most tarot decks have that." And I was like, "Fuck." You know, it's like I've only read the Boss Baby deck. So yeah. Anyway,
I think that's just the way, honestly, like this is one of my favorite things about media, right? Is like, okay, how do I do the connection from the last thing that I watched to the next thing that I watched? Like, how can I thematically link what's going on, right? Like, I think that's fun. I like to do it.
Fargo
So I'm razzing you a little bit, like, good-naturedly. Yeah.
Well, a little razzing never hurt anybody. Leave a comment if you think I've only seen Boss Baby. But yeah, this is Matt, talk about this chapter a bit.
I mean, I feel like we've hit a lot of the big points of it, but the thing that I noted, I don't know, the thing that I noted was that the two doctor characters. Well, I do think it's notable that, you know, we said, well, why don't we cut to this person? Why don't we cut to this person? I think it's notable that the people we open with are people who were saved by Tenma's doctoring, right? And then we move to two doctor characters who their takeaway is, well, I can't stop being a doctor. You know, Tenma has inspired me. I need to keep helping other people, right? Everyone is inspired to help because he helped them. The other thing that we come back to is, you know, we pointed this out a couple times ago, is there's this whole idea that, man, you sure were lucky that Tenma showed up when he did, right? Here are all these people who were helped, you know, who got some of his luck, and now they're trying to pay it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've got here.
Okay.
The only other note I had is, how are there 3 volumes left? There were 3, and like there are 6 tankobon editions left, which is like 54 chapters of manga, right? How is there that much left? I don't understand. This is an end of the story chapter.
And yet.
Continually shocked, by how this continues to keep going.
We got more. We got some more to do. Okay, I have a few more notes on this. One, this is technically an Urasawa Open, which we haven't been calling out for the last few episodes. Even when they have happened, we haven't been calling them out. Because they've been minor.
They haven't really been...
they haven't been crazy. But this is technically an Urasawa Open because we don't really know we don't know these people, and we don't know what they're here for a few pages.
I did at first. I was like, are these people who survived a Kinderheim or something like that? Because my first thought was, because I think very immediately before this, we talked about how Bonaparte was like a, you know, neuroscientist PhD. I was like, well, maybe are these people who have benefited from his experiments? But no, it's Tenma's patients. Yeah,
it's his patients. And I think the most important thing for us to, you know, pick out about this chapter is that this is a reflection of Johan, an inversion. Johan isolates. Johan breaks apart. Dr. Tenma brings people together, and not only does he bring people together, they stay together without him. He helps bonds be literally created. You know, like the people at the start, we don't know them, but they all know Tenma.
They all know each other.
And they
all know Tenma, they all know each other. It's so nice when they ask the younger guy, like, how is school going? Stuff like that.
So sweet.
Yeah.
You know, and then like Reichwein and Ava, they connect here over Tenma as well. So it's just this idea that Johan is acting as a wedge and Tenma is acting as a bridge, you know, and even though Tenma has been trying to isolate himself, has been trying to become more and more like Johan in order to take him out. He can't do it. He's a doctor. All he can do is heal and bring together.
Damn, yeah, no, if we think about it, like, okay, so this story's been Tenma following, like, the wound that Johan is cutting across Europe, right?
Oh, my God.
And, like, everywhere, Tenma's just suturing it up behind him, right? And it's, like, all these connections that he's left. It's so sick. It's good.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really, really good, and I love it a lot, and I think this chapter really, really tells you what... like what some of these themes like actually are and what they're actually doing, and how we are meant to understand Tenma's role. Because there are people like you see, I've seen like a couple of video essays, I haven't watched them, but that they're like Tenma and Johan, two sides of the same coin, and I'm like, no, sorry, no, like they have things in common, but that's not what two sides of the same coin means.
Yeah.
They are intended to be deeply contrasting characters. And that's like Nina and Johan are two sides of the same coin because they're literally the same coin.
They're the same face, yeah. So
just because a phrase looks like it fits doesn't mean it's a good way to see the situation.
No.
I think this chapter's sweet, and kind of after this point, I can remember pretty much the last volume. I don't remember how we get from here to there.
See, this is fascinating to me. So, because I don't know if that means that what happens between here and there is like meaningless and not important, or if it's just like so bananas that there's no way I can predict where.
I think it's just that I'm constantly cramming my head full of media, and I can't hold on to all of it, is like the literal answer. And it also means that the end of it is very memorable, because it really is.
A banger. Okay.
I would say. So I'm excited to get there. I'm really excited to read the next volume.
I can't wait. Like tonight, I'm going to go, like I said, I'm going to go get pizza for dinner, and then I'm going to read the next reading.
I'm probably going to crack it open as soon as we're done recording. As soon as I hit the stop button, I'm gonna do that. Segments. Favorite Tenma moment?
For me, it is him when Grimmer reveals this whole thing about he can't smile, he needs to figure out how to smile, and Tenma looks concerned. I called it out when we were going through it, and then his response is, "We should go see those kids."
I think I might
the way
agree
that
with
he
you.
handles that.
I think I might agree with you. It's so natural, and it's really simple, but it's also a really meaningful thing to do for another person. Mm-hmm. I agree with that being my favorite Tenma. Okay, favorite side character.
I think it's Lunge telling Suk that he needs to think long and hard about who did this. Like the tough love that he gives to Suk. Yeah.
I think mine is also Lunge, and it is bring me a coffee. No, wait, I'm on vacation. Bring me a beer.
That is a good one.
I think that's really funny. I love Lunge. Just excited to have him back in the mix. Absolutely jazzed for it.
Thrilled. Yeah. I'm glad. Here's, I'm going to do another prediction. I think him and Ava are going to show up at the same time to get Tenma out of jail.
That'd be fun.
Because they have been characters who show up together most of the time is the thing. So I don't know. We'll see.
Cool.
Minor character, unnamed.
Minor character / unnamed. I really do love the sequence where Milos is counting his way to 3 times.
That's a
8.
good one. Yeah.
And the teacher is so supportive. She's like, "You're almost there."
Yeah.
I just think
that's nice.
It's really cute. It's really sweet.
I like that we get to see Petra and Schumann and Petra's son again, right? Because Petra's son, if everyone will remember, is where I had the very funny bit where we said there's only one way out of this mess. Racism.
One of our best bits, to be sure.
It's one of the funniest bits that we've done. Yeah. And I know people love it when we talk about how funny we think we are. But
we get a lot of feedback on that. Get a lot of @s on Twitter and stuff.
Yeah.
Is that the funniest
lots
part
of engagement.
Yeah.
When we toot our
really
horns.
Yeah, man.
But I like that guy a lot. I like that they're like a nice, happy family that Tenma has put together.
Me too.
Yeah. Who's rocking this week? I thought I had an answer, and now I can't remember. Oh, well, does not like qualify, but to me, like Lunge breaking down that wall, to me, that's dude's rock.
It could be. Is it Lunge again?
I don't know.
That'd be kind of fun. I don't know if anybody's like. Well, it is true that editor guy doesn't have a wife. Like, it doesn't seem like he has a wife. He didn't mention a wife, but he has a daughter. So like maybe he got so into editing these creepy children's stories and collecting newspaper clippings.
Well, I will say having a wall of newspaper clippings is extreme divorced man behavior.
Yeah, and it's like he doesn't specify. It's like, oh, I like collecting columns about this or that. He just seems to collect newspapers.
He reads newspapers from around the world.
I just think he's hoarding. So I think actually we're gonna say retired children's story editors are rocking.
They're rocking this week. I agree. That's a good call.
Yeah.
Very, very good. Quinn, where can the people find you?
In their hearts, in the stars, in the skies above. You can also find me at authenticity.trip on TikTok. I have two super reviews in my drafts. I'm going to get those edited. I'm going to get them posted, and the era of super reviews is going to be back. I review
soups.
I review canned soup. Is something that I like to do because I love canned soup. I eat a lot of it, and you know me, listeners. When I like something enough, well, I like to let the world know. So canned soup reviews, and I'll just give you guys a little sneak peek. They are
exclusive.
They are for
exclusive.
They are both for different brands of split pea soup, and I will leave them. I'll leave it at that. So
thrilling.
If that what's your whistle?
2 cliffhangers in this episode. Yeah. What split pea soups and what will Tenma do to get out of jail?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can find my RPG work at 200proof.itch.io, and on Twitter.
Any percent is out now. Go buy any percent, review any percent. It's very good.
Or just take one of the free copies. Actually,
no,
you can buy it. I put out a bunch of free copies, and then people just took the free copies and didn't buy it. So I would like it if you bought it.
Buy any percent.
That would be great. Thanks. Yeah. And basically, that's me, Matt. Who are you?
Hey,
and where can people find you in the labyrinth?
Yeah, I'm Matt Fennell. Oh, in the labyrinth. That's in the labyrinth. Like I really liked the bit you did last week about you were in the woods, like trying to find you. Yeah. The labyrinth is good. I like that. Well, I'm Matt Fennell. I'm in Chattanooga. If you're ever in the area, just text me. We'll go get dinner or something. I don't know.
Once again, listeners, we must emphasize: don't
actually don't. I said don't do that. We at the very beginning we had a long bit about parasocial relationships.
Okay, two bits about this. I like the idea that Chattanooga is in the labyrinth. Like the entirety of Chattanooga. Okay, yeah. Fair enough. And also that, speaking of texting, I just remembered earlier recording, Villa Fox, actually, one of our patrons, they messaged me, and their library is out of Monster.
Oh no!
And the even more interesting thing is that their library seems to actually have the original. It has
really?
The original. Well, they had, but now it's been lost. Like, it's not just checked out, it's been lost. So somebody out wherever Phil is has a volume of has at least the first volume of Monster in the original Tankobon. So I think that's there you go. Hi Vil, thanks for the message, thanks for the money. And I really appreciate you. But yeah.
Yeah, but I'm in Chattanooga. I'm also at blarple.net, BLARPLE.net. Probably tomorrow night. We're recording this on 6/20. Well, this is no use to our listeners because it will have happened by now.
Yeah.
But tomorrow night, I think I'm going to stream either Mario Golf or a JRPG on Twitch. So I'll probably start doing that like every other week for the rest of the summer.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
So you can catch me there.
Maybe I should jump on one of your streams.
Absolutely, I'd love to have you. No, I'm at twitch.tv/Matt Fennell. I run the Urasawa Boys Twitter. We're at Urasawa Boys on Twitter. We have a Patreon. It's
that
patreon.com.
site is becoming less relevant by the day.
No, I know. I'm trying to get a blue sky invite.
Like a while back, like we were talking about how like, oh, Twitter's blowing up, and it doesn't seem to have blown up, but it does. It's dying.
It just sucks now.
It's dying really fast. Like it is.
He's talked about pivot to video. You know,
it's not
like,
useful anymore. We should make like a TikTok or something. I don't know. I don't know what we should fucking
what would
do.
I post on the TikTok? I don't even like posting.
Oh
on
my
Twitter.
god! Thank you for reminding me. Thank you. What we would post is we would post Johan Liebert fan cams. I found a YouTube channel called Mr. Dodo. All he posts are 30-second Johan Liebert fan cams set to music. It is like fan edits, like you know what I'm talking about? He's been doing this for like the last year. It is like all Johan and like a couple of like JoJo. It is wild, and when I found it, I knew I had to shout it out. So everybody,
Mr. Dodo?
Mr. Dodo on YouTube, go and check it out. It is so...
This is so bizarre.
I'll say this: it is from the heart. That's for sure. It is from the heart.
I mean, I think as the TikTok girlies would say, Johan Liebert is baby girl.
Fuck, you're so right. That is God, Jesus. Oh, I don't think. Okay, and with that. Follow us on Patreon. Give us a little bit of money if you're so inclined. I just quit my job, so we are gonna have time to make that bonus content that you guys have been paying us for. Thank you so much. And we're looking forward to making more stuff. Looking forward to talking a whole lot in places where you can hear it. And yeah, just really thank you. Thank you so much for listening, and thanks for being a friend.
Thanks for being a friend.